All right, family. All right, so we're gonna dive into this book. Um, the author is on the screen. The book is called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. Now, before we go into this book, because I was doing my little research, and you'll see, like, while we're reading this book, why this man could be in some kind of hot water. You'll see. It's good information. You take from it from what you will. This is not my opinion. I'm just simply reading a book. But I want to show you something before we get started. Check this out. All right, so this is the website is called ftc.gov enforcement refund. All right, so apparently this man has been sued by the FTC. It says the FTC sued Kevin Trudeau, I think that's how you pronounce his name, for making false claims and infomercials about his book. The court ruled that Mr. Trudeau broke the law and ordered him to repay people who bought the book through an infomercial. Now, the book we're reading is not that book. We're reading Natural Cures they don't want you to know about. So it looks like the FTC came after him for this particular book, The Weight Loss Cure They Don't Want You to Know About. So yeah, this happened in it says the FTC mailed checks in June 2016, August 2017, and August 2020. Now the FTC is sending PayPal payments to people who did not cash in their checks and have valid email address on file. If you received a PayPal payment, you have 30 days to accept it. If you do not have PayPal account and would prefer to get a check instead, please call 1-844-828-4437. Wow, that is a lot of energy put forth to repay people who bought this book. That didn't intrigue you to want to know what he's talking about? I don't know what will. But let's get going. Now, how the book started is, of course, it's got its introduction, acknowledgments and stuff, and then it just starts off. So I'm gonna just start it off from page 1, and he's basically telling a story on how he came to the point where he wanted to find the truth and natural cures and stuff. All right. I was driving down the Tri-State Highway outside of Chicago, Illinois, in my brand new Corvette, enjoying the beautiful sunny day. Suddenly, I felt an enormous ripping pain in my chest. I could barely breathe. The pain was excruciating. I immediately pulled off to the side of the road. My life virtually flashed before my eyes, and I thought, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, and I'm only 21 years old. Just as quickly as the pain came, it vanished. I was dizzy, disorientated, and in a state of shock and disbelief. As to what had happened, I looked down and noticed my new car phone, an invention that had come out in the Chicagoland area. I picked up my phone and called my secretary and said, I think I just had a heart attack. Luckily for me, within a few moments, I felt fine. I concluded that if it was a heart attack, it certainly didn't cause any major damage, but something was obviously wrong. Over the next week, I was examined by 3 of the top heart specialists in America through use of the most advanced medical diagnostic devices. It was concluded, after days of testing, that I had been born with a deformed heart, a severe mitral valve prolapse, which would cause me major medical problems the rest of my life. There was no cure. These top medical minds recommended experimental drugs or risky surgery, both of which I was told had little promise. My life expectancy was to be very short. I struggled with coming up with an effective plan of action that could solve my medical dilemma. I was 21 years old and had my whole life in front of me, I had to do something. All right, so right here, this is what he's talking about. He says that it's incurable. Let's see what we got. All right, so I don't see where they're saying it's not curable. They're saying it can be treated. Could lead to heart failure. Sounds like a really major issue. But anyway, and so this man is pretty much saying that he was told that he has a mitral valve collapse, and he's young. Now, I'm gonna correct a mistake. When I was reading the book, I said that he should have said that the cell phones had just come out in Chicago, not that they were invented in Chicago. I'm gonna keep it all factual. All right, and this, like I said, I'm just reading his book now. This is some really good information here. So hang tight. Let's keep reading. All right, so we got him saying that this is what led him on his path. Let's see what else we find. Months earlier, I had attended a lecture where I heard about a Harvard medical doctor named Yuen Wai Tang, founder of the Century Clinic in Reno, Nevada, who during the Korean War was a MASH surgeon. Today, the clinic is called Sierra Integrative Medical Center. This MD had decided that standard medical procedures, drugs, and surgery were not the best way to cure and prevent disease. He instead was using a diagnostic device developed in Germany by a Dr. Reinhold Voll called the Dermatron machine. Allegedly, in a matter of minutes, it could diagnose medical problems in the body. When the diagnosis was complete, homeopathic remedies were given to correct imbalance and reverse and cure the disease. At the time, it sounded like hocus pocus. The words homostasis, holistic. Now, what's real strange? So I was trying to find this guy, and there's no Wikipedia for him. You can see right here, it says Dermatron device seized. Let's click on that. Because obviously you know what, I got it up on this one. Hold on. It says, indicted doctor is under fire for treatment. Let's click on it. And I'm not about to read this whole thing, but I'm just showing you this guy, what he's saying. This person does exist, and it's like this man has been shadow banned because there's no Wikipedia if he's successfully doing things. But let's read a little bit. It says a renal cancer doctor indicted by a federal grand jury last month is being defended by some patients for saving their lives, but lambsteaded by others who accuse him of making false diagnoses and charging them for costly, unnecessarily treatments. The federal government jury indicted James W. Well, hold on. That's somebody else. Again, I'm not going to read all of this. I mean, you see the names. Y'all can do your own research. It's just the book is interesting to me. That's why I'm sharing it. But as I'm going along, maybe I can, do a little research and show y'all some things of what this man is talking about. But I find it strange that you type this man's name and you try to put Wikipedia, right? He should have a Wikipedia page. He doesn't. Or if he does, I haven't found it. Usually that pops up first. I see other people's names. I don't see his. But as you see, that man does exist. He does exist. He was an MD. And as soon as you type his name, you see what comes up? The Dermatron machine. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the reading. I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit because I interrupt, but I just want to share that. Correct imbalance and reverse and cure the disease. At the time, it sounded like hocus pocus. The words homeostasis, holistic healing, homeopathic remedies, acupuncture, meridians, energy frequencies, imbalances, and the like were used in lectures, replacing what was to me the standard vernacular of germs, bacteria, virus, drugs, surgery, and genetics. Skeptical, yet open to new ideas, I flew to Reno, Nevada to meet this great Dr. Tang. What did I have to lose? Upon my arrival, the doctor asked me why was I there. I looked fit and healthy, and being so young, he was slightly puzzled by my desire for diagnosis. Most of his patients were old and had severe medical problems. Wanting to see if this Dermatron machine was legitimate, I simply said, I feel great. I just want a basic checkup. Immediately, he tested me with the magic machine. Within 2 minutes, he had touched my heart meridian with the probe, and the machine registered very low energy. The doctor looked at me slightly concerned and said, son, you have a heart problem. I was shocked at how quickly the diagnosis came. Just as quickly, he stated, let me find out where it is. He began to touch other meridian points. When he got to the mitral valve, the machine again registered very little energy. He looked at me and said, matter of factly, you have a mitral valve prolapse. Needless to say, I was quite impressed. The expert medical doctor took days of diagnostic testing to determine that I had severe mitral valve prolapse. This energy machine diagnosed the problem within minutes. I looked at the doctor and said, yes, I know, and I understand it's incurable. His response startled me. Yes, in America, it is incurable, but there are natural treatments in other countries that can reverse the problem in a matter of weeks. Unfortunately, the FDA has not approved these treatments. So yes, in America, it's incurable. He then went on to explain the procedure of live cell injections available. All right, so I don't know if this is the Dermatron machine that he's talking about. I doubt it. I tried to do like a Google search on it. But anyway, that is interesting that he's saying that he was diagnosed, that he found out what was wrong with him in a matter of minutes versus it taking days or maybe even weeks. I don't think he said weeks, but days through, the doctors. With another thing that was very interesting, because remember when we started this, I was trying to see if the valve prolapse, whatever it is, the heart condition he had, was that in fact incurable. Now I didn't see it say it was incurable, but it says you can get treatment for it. Usually when they say treatment, that means they could make it where you can live with it. That's what I think anyway. Like let's take AIDS or HIV. You can be treated for it, but you don't see nothing for curing. You know what I'm saying? So I find that interesting that he's saying the doctor told him it's not curable here in the United States, but you can go to other places in the world and get treatment. And get cured, not just treatment. You can get it reversed. I don't know how true that is. Like I said, we're just reading the book, but very interesting to say the least. And I'm gonna tell you this: as I'm reading his book, I am reminded of Dr. Sebi, who did some phenomenal things, in my opinion. So it's worth a listening to. It's definitely worth a listening to. Let's continue. Incurable. He then went on to explain the procedure of live cell injections available in Switzerland or Mexico, but not accessible via legal treatment in the United States. That would correct the problem by actually rebuilding the heart, ensuring that it would never return. Quite frankly, I couldn't believe my ears. Natural treatment that works, that are not approved by the FDA? Impossible. This event happened over 20 years ago. The treatment I received was inexpensive, all natural, painless, quick, and it worked. And still to this day, that therapy is illegal in America. The most amazing part of this story is after I received the natural treatment that was forbidden in America, I went back to the medical doctors who originally diagnosed my heart problem and asked to be tested again. My request was met with indignation. I was told that being tested again was a waste of time and money because it's impossible for the medical condition to change in 2 months. Nevertheless, I demanded a re-administrating of all tests anyway. The doctors humored me and were stunned when they found I no longer had mitral valve prolapse. I was so excited to share with them the information about the treatment I had received, which had cured my problem. Certainly, these doctors will want to know about an all-natural medical treatment that could cure the incurable. Imagine my shock when I was told that the treatment I received could not have cured my disease, but rather I must have been misdiagnosed in the first place and never had the heart deformity to begin with. I could not believe my ears. These medical doctors would not accept the facts. I had a severe mitral valve prolapse. The pictures confirmed it, and now I do not have the mitral valve prolapse. The pictures confirmed it. I began to think of all the people that would come to these medical doctors and be told in the bold-faced lie that their medical condition was incurable and could only be treated with drugs and surgery. It sickened me to know that the truth about natural cures will be hidden from millions of patients. The knowledge that the established medical community would deny the existence of natural cures, thus allowing millions of people to suffer and in many cases die, enraged me. Well, we know right here, we see that when we type this man's name, Yuen Y10, MD, we see that a Dermatron machine was seized. Now, the fact that he said that he was cured and he ran back and told the doctors that whatever, he said this was 20 years ago, right? Yeah, I wonder if, I guess he should have, I can't say he should have kept it to himself, how I look at it. But, people going back telling people, they're cured or something, and it's illegal to cure, if it's illegal to cure somebody of that ailment with that device, I'm trying to be politically correct, then going back telling people is kind of like snitching, right? I'm just saying. Like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know if it's true, but it's very interesting to say the least. But we do see that a device was seized, and it looks like that doctor is under hot water. And we see that the author of this book is under hot water. Again, not by this book that we're reading, but by another book. He must have a bunch of books. Matter of fact, let's check it out. Here's a Wikipedia for him, though. He was born in 1962 or 1963. He's an American author, salesman, television personality known for promotion of his books and resulting in legal cases involving the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. His ambiguous late-night infomercials, which promoted unsustained health, diet, and financial advice, earned him a fortune but resulted in civil and criminal penalties for fraud, larceny, and contempt of court. Wow. In the early 1990s, he was convicted of larceny and credit card fraud. In 2007, he was accused of grossly misrepresenting the contents of his book, The Weight Loss Cure They Don't Want You to Know About. And that's the one that he got in trouble for, that we seen earlier. Now, as far as his legal issues, the fraud and stuff, he actually admits that in the book. We'll see that. We'll actually see that if you continue following along. But yeah, he was fined $37.6 million for violating the 2004 settlement in order to post a $2 million bond before engaging in any future infomercial advertising. It sounds like he's selling something. I ain't gonna front. You gotta watch that. People be scamming. You know what I mean? But like I said, I obviously I seen something in the book that was worth talking about. Like, there's some things he speak on in that, and I just want to share it. But wow. But anyway, enough of that. Back to the book. That event started me on a lifelong mission, searching for natural remedies that do not include drugs or surgery, and natural treatments that can prevent and cure illness and disease. It also exposed me to the organizations, the companies, the government agencies that do not want you to know about these cures. Today, I live a full, healthy, dynamic life. I have no drugs, and I've had no surgeries. I haven't had a prescription or non-prescription drug in over 20 years. Additionally, I virtually never get sick. Cold, flus, and all illnesses seem to pass me by. I've had hundreds of blood tests and other diagnostic tests performed on me every few years, just to make sure everything is within the normal range. The medical professionals who have examined and reviewed these results are stunned and amazed at the level of health that I enjoy. Am I lucky? Is it just genetics? Or are there some specific things that a person can do to have a disease and illness-free life and enjoy dynamic, vibrant health? Is it possible for you to go week after week, year after year, and never get sick? I strongly believe the answer is yes. This book specifically outlines the following things. Yes, there are all natural, non-drugs, and non-surgical cures for most every illness and disease. Yes, there are organizations, government agencies, companies, and entire industries that are spending billions of dollars trying to hide these natural cures from you. Yes, every single non-prescription and prescription drug has adverse side effects and should virtually never be taken, with exceptions that I will explain later. In this book, it's important to note that I'm oversimplifying everything. The reason is that I'm not writing this book for the medical community, the scientists, the researchers, or the MDs. They're not going to believe or agree with anything I say anyway. I'm writing this book in plain English so that you can understand it. Let me point out a couple things. Everything I say in this book is my opinion. Everything stated is what I believe to be true. All my conclusions and statements of fact are, in most cases, opinions. It's interesting to note that the medical science always present things as facts, when actually what they are really presenting is not fact at all. It's only an opinion based on information that they have at the current time. Throughout history, medical facts have been proven not to be true over and over again. Therefore, they are not facts at all. They are simply opinions. Medical science has stated things to be true, and in most cases, years later, those things have been found not to be true. Medical science is almost always wrong, yet they present things as factual, as if they know the truth. The medical industry presents itself as the only source of truth when it comes to health, illness, and disease. They use words like credible scientific evidence or scientifically tested, scientifically proven. The fact is that what they are really presenting are theories, and these theories constantly change. Here's an example of medical facts that have been proven to be wrong. Bloodletting was once proven to cure most illness. Now it is considered totally ineffective. Margarine was considered much healthier than butter. Now researchers suggest that the exact opposite is true. Eggs were considered very bad because of high cholesterol. Now researchers suggest that they are not bad at all, and they are actually healthy for the body. Alcohol, in all forms, was said to be 100% unhealthy and therefore should not be consumed. Then the medical community said that red wine was actually healthy for the heart, but not other forms of alcohol. Now medical science says that all alcohol in moderation actually has health benefits. Chocolate and oily foods were touted to be the cause of acne. Now researchers suggest that they do not contribute in any way to acne. Homosexuality was once classified as a disease. Medical doctors touted that baby formula was much better than breast milk for children. Now the exact opposite is shown to be true. Milk was recommended for coating the stomach and alleviating stomach ulcers. Now it is discouraged and has been found to aggravate ulcers. Medical science stated that diet had absolutely no effect on disease or illness. Now we're told that diet has a huge effect on prevention and the cause of disease. Medical science had scientific evidence that removing of tonsils in the appendix improve health and should be done to virtually everyone. Now the medical community reversed that theory. Children with asthma were told to stay in enclosed pool areas because the humidity was good for their asthmatic conditions. Now researchers suggest that chlorine in the air from the pools actually aggravates and makes asthma worse. The most obvious example of all is the fact that there are thousands of drugs that have been approved by the FDA because they were scientifically proven to cure and prevent disease. In addition to having been touted as safe, then years later, they have been taken off the market because they have been newly proven to either not cure or prevent those diseases as originally thought, or those drugs were found to have such terrible adverse side effects that they were simply too dangerous for people to use. Yeah, I can't even front. Look how many times we see that, like the wine thing. I seen that about wine. They said red wine was good for the heart and stuff like that. I do remember that. But think about those. I do remember it'd be like every now and then, if you'll see a commercial, if you took this drug, you might be able to get in on this class action lawsuit because this drug could lead to cancer or something like that. Like, yeah, he's got a point on that. He's definitely got a point on that. I didn't know the thing about chocolate causing acne and stuff like that, but I mean, some of you listening probably heard of some of these things. But yes, they do change scientific fact or medical facts as time goes on. That is true. That is true. The point is, what we're being told by the medical community as fact is simply not fact at all. It is the current theory and thought of the day, which historically is often shown to be not true. It saddens me when I see doctors on TV stating things as fact when they should be qualifying their comments with such phrases as "it appears." Based on current research we have, it seems that we believe this to be true. However, we also know that as more research and observations are evaluated, this may change in the future. This is not happening. Medical doctors are still looked on as gods. Whatever they say is taken as absolute true. No one else can say anything about health, illness, or disease with the credibility of a medical doctor. That simply is wrong. Medical doctors are trained to do only two things: prescribe drugs or cut out parts of a person's anatomy via surgery. They are not trained at preventing disease, and most important, they have little to no training in or exposure to any treatment other than drugs and surgery. Another example of medical facts reversed is the diet industry. First, a low-calorie diet was said to be the only way to lose weight. Then experts said, it's not the calories, but the amount of fat that you consume that will determine your weight. Now the rage of the day is, it's not the calories and it's not the fat, it's the carbohydrates that causes obesity. The fact is, nobody really knows. Imagine the government's highest medical authority making this statement. Today, we have more information and knowledge about the cure and prevention of disease than ever before in the history of mankind. The advancements that have been made in just the last few years have given us new insights about the treatment and prevention of virtually all disease and illness, making it safe to reach two major conclusions. One, even though just 10 years ago we thought we knew the proper treatment of illness, we now know just how little we knew back then. And two, with these revolutionary breakthroughs in technology, virtually all illness and disease should be wiped out of America within the next 10 years. We are on the verge of entering a phase where a person will never be sick. And if you do get sick, your doctor will be able to cure your illness in a matter of days. We have virtually reached the pinnacle of medical knowledge. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Wow, we have reached the pinnacle of medical knowledge. We know all there is to know about the cure and prevention of disease. Wow. In just 10 years, because of the medical science, sickness will be eliminated in America. Well, even though it sounds exciting, there is a downside. Imagine that the speech was given in 1902. Interesting, isn't it? In 1902, the people of the day believed they knew all there was to know about the cure and prevention of disease. We look back at them and are in awe at just how little they knew. Now, here is the hard part for us to imagine. 20 years from now, people will look at us and be in awe on how little we know about the cure and prevention of disease. Today, we laugh at the thought of bloodletting curing a disease. Well, 50 years from now, people will laugh when they look at some of our archaic and horrible treatments that we are using today in an attempt to cure illness. As you read this book, imagine me prefacing everything I say with "it seems," or "it appears based on current observations and current research," or "I believe this to be true." I know that of everything I say in this book, as more research and data becomes available, there is an excellent chance that many of these theories and opinions may be altered, modified, improved, or changed completely. Please just note, there are virtually no medical facts. There are only medical opinions. You need to choose the opinion that makes the best sense for you. How did I come up with my opinions? I've traveled over 50 million miles to bring you this information. I've been to all 50 U.S. states and traveled to countries all around the world. Over the last 20 years, I have talked with thousands of healthcare providers. I have listened to tens of thousands of people who have had serious medical conditions cured by natural therapies, many after drugs and surgeries had failed them. I have personally seen with my own eyes, heard with my own ears, and experienced firsthand so much information that I believe I have a unique perspective necessary to come up with my bold conclusions. The biggest acknowledgement I must give is to the tens of thousands of dedicated healthcare professionals around the world who refuses to use drugs and surgery, yet routinely see their patients cured of disease, who go on to live vibrant, healthy lives. These natural healthcare providers see people cured of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, chronic pain, headaches, arthritis, allergies, depression, and the list goes on. The question is no longer whether disease can be prevented or cured faster or more effectively without drugs or surgery. The real question is, why are the healthcare providers who do not use drugs and surgery being prosecuted as criminals because they cure people of cancer, AIDS, and hundreds of other chronic diseases? Natural therapy works. Natural therapy can work better than drugs or surgery. People who are using natural therapies to cure and prevent disease and have a higher success rate with no adverse side effects than drugs or surgery type treatments are being prosecuted for breaking the law. The question is, why? Why are inexpensive, all natural, safe, effective treatments being suppressed? Let's find out. Yeah, if that's the case, that is an interesting question now. You know, a lot of us don't be like educated on the laws of the land, like the real minute and the fine letters at the bottom of a contract that you probably don't pay attention. You know you can't go out here and steal from a grocery store or kill somebody, stuff like that. But like, he's going to dive into certain things where you can get in trouble, and it sounds like it's the same things that got him in trouble, to some degree. He's going up against. I don't even know if this man is still alive. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that they couldn't say exactly when he was born, they said either this year or that year, that's suspicious inside itself. But anyway, the fact that he's going up against these people, you're gonna see who he's going up against. Takes a lot of guts to do what he's doing. Is he getting paid for it? Yeah, obviously. Anytime you get sued that many millions of dollars, imagine what your bank account look like. So, you can look at it like he's a good salesman. But like I said, I've read some things in this book and it had me thinking like, wow. So, I mean, this is just to provoke thought. You do with it what you will. Those big organizations out there, you know what I'm saying? Don't come after me. I'm reading the book. Obviously, this book is for sale. It is. You can buy it. So if it's for sale, it means it can be read. Besides, my father, y'all got me, so forget all that. But let's continue on. Chapter 2. What's wrong with the healthcare in America? Medical science has absolutely 100% failed in the curing and prevention of illness, sickness, and disease. Consider the following startling bits of data. More people get colds and flu than ever before. More people get cancer than ever before. More people have diabetes than ever before. More people have heart disease than ever before. More people have multiple sclerosis, lupus, muscular dystrophy, asthma, migraines, headaches, joint, neck, and back pain than ever before. More people have acid reflux, ulcers, and stomach problems than ever before. More women have menopause problems than ever before. More women have more frequent PMS and more severe PMS than ever before. More kids have attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity than ever before. More people have chronic fatigue than ever before. More people have insomnia than ever before. More people have bad skin, acne, dandruff than ever before. More people suffer from depression, stress, and anxiety than ever before. More men and women suffer from sexual dysfunction and infertility than ever before. More people suffer from allergies, arthritis, constipation, fibromyalgia, cold sores, and herpetic breakouts than ever before. More men suffer from prostate problems than ever before. More women suffer from yeast infections than ever before. Yet, surprisingly enough, there are more people going to visit the doctors than ever before. There are more people getting diagnostic testings, such as blood tests, x-rays, than ever before. More people are taking non-prescription and prescription drugs than ever before. Not only are more people taking drugs, but each person is taking more drugs than ever before. There are more surgeries performed than ever before. What does this tell us? It tells us that the standard medical science is failing. More people are getting medical treatment, taking more drugs, having more diagnostic testings, and having more surgeries than ever before in history. Yet more people are getting sick than ever before in history. Medical science is failing. According to Fortune magazine, we are losing the war on cancer. The percentage of Americans dying from cancer today is the same as it was in 1970 and even 1950. Over $200 billion estimated has been spent since 1971 trying to prevent and cure cancer. Yet today, you have a higher chance of getting cancer than ever before in history. And yo, I ain't even gonna front. All the money that's been put towards cancer, all the time, how technology has evolved. Look at our phones. Look how powerful your phone is now compared to 10, 15 years ago. You know, all the technology that they have out here and all the money that this country has. And he's still dealing with cancer on the same level of when it first outbreaked. That's crazy. Yeah, something wrong with that. I be seeing people like, there's people who survived cancer. Um, but then there's many that don't. And from my experience, what I'm seeing, there's people who they survive cancer the first couple times, and then cancer ends up creeping back up on them anyway. Um, he's making some good points. I'm gonna run it back just a little bit because I interrupted. But he's making some good points. We are more sicker now than our ancestors was, our great grandparents, our parents, our grandparents, and it's just like as time goes on, we are increasingly getting sicker. But an interesting thing that he stated: more people are getting medical treatment. are taking more medicine or having more surgeries than ever before. I mean, I don't have the statistics in front of me. I don't know if that's true. I did look this up right here that because I think he's going to state that we consume more drugs than any other country. It says the United States doesn't consume more drugs than other wealthy countries, but it does pay more for them. In fact, the U.S. per capita drug consumption is lower than any other advanced country when taking defined daily dosages in account. However, the U.S. spends about $1,126 per person on prescription medicines, which is higher than any peer nation. This is due to two main factors. The prescription drug prices in the U.S. are 2.4 times higher than the average prices of 9 other nations, and brand name drugs are 4.9 times more expensive. Unlike most other countries, U.S. drug prices are set without direct government intervention. All right, I just wanted to read that because, like I said, we're going to fact check everything, even though you can't rely on the internet. The internet's not going to give you the full truth. But let's continue. I'm going to run that back just a little bit. Yet, surprisingly enough, there are more people going to visit the doctors than ever before. There are more people getting diagnostic testings, such as blood tests, x-rays, than ever before. More people are taking non-prescription and prescription drugs than ever before. Not only are more people taking drugs, but each person is taking more drugs than ever before. There are more surgeries performed than ever before. What does this tell us? It tells us that the standard medical science is failing. More people are getting medical treatment, taking more drugs, having more diagnostic testings, and having more surgeries than ever before in history. Yet more people are getting sick than ever before in history. Medical science is failing. According to Fortune magazine, we are losing the war on cancer. The percentage of Americans dying from cancer today is the same as it was in 1970 and even 1950. Over $200 billion estimated has been spent since 1971 trying to prevent and cure cancer. Yet today, you have a higher chance of getting cancer than ever before in history. And you have the same chance of dying as you did in 1950. I will call that a miserable failure. Americans spend over $2 trillion a year on the healthcare. Yet, American infant mortality rate is higher than 20 other developed countries. People in 30 other countries live longer than Americans. Yet, Americans consume over half of all the drugs manufactured in the world. There are over 200,000 non-prescription drugs on the market. There are over 30,000 prescription medications. Doctors write over 3 billion prescriptions each year. The average American has over 30 different prescriptions and non-prescription drugs in their medicine cabinet. The bottom line, the only winners in the cure and prevention of disease are the drug companies. And well, here's that article on why we're losing the war on cancer. And yes, let me back up real fast. Fortune magazine did publish something in 2004 saying, why are we losing the war on cancer? Let's continue. The healthcare companies themselves. The drug companies' profits are at an all-time high. Medical science has failed unequivocally in the prevention and the curing of virtually every illness. As an example, let's look at the diet industry. More people are on diets than ever before. More people are taking more diet products than ever before. More people exercise than ever before. Yet, more people are fat than ever before. Over 68% of the people living in America are overweight. It's been increasing virtually every single year. Not only are more people fatter than ever before, but more people are dangerously obese. Who are the winners in the war of obesity? The corporations that sell the diet food, diet pills, and other weight loss aids are making more money than ever before. An ideal scenario would be never having to take a single drug and never getting sick. An ideal scenario would be waking up in the morning full of energy and vitally content and feeling absolutely great. You go throughout your day with energy, a bounce in your step, a smile on your face. You don't feel stressed, anxious, depressed. You don't feel tired. You don't have no headaches or pain in your body. You are not overweight. You don't get colds or flus or sickness. You don't get disease. You have no pain. You're not ravenous with your appetite. You eat what you want and you never get hungry. You don't deprive yourself of the foods you enjoy. You go to sleep at night and you sleep soundly and peacefully and get a wonderful whole night's rest. Your sexual desires are healthy and strong, and you are capable of both giving and receiving sexual pleasures. Your skin, your hair, and your nails look healthy and radiant. You have strength and tone in your muscles. Your body is fluid, gracefully, and flexible. You are firm, strong, vibrant, and you feel great. This is the description of a healthy person. A healthy person never has to take drugs. A healthy person never has to have surgeries. A healthy person has no cancer, diabetes, heart disease. A healthy person lives without illness, sickness, or disease. Most people have no idea how good their body is designed to feel. We have been brainwashed into believing that it is natural for a human being to get colds and flus, have aches and pains, and have major medical problems like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. We are also brainwashed into believing that it's natural to take drugs. We are programmed to believe that it is normal and natural to take drugs that we need, drugs in order to be healthy. Consider this: animals in the wild, such as chimpanzees, do not get sick. They do not get diabetes, cancer, heart disease, asthma, heartburn, arthritis, or etc. Animals in the wild also do not take drugs. Animals in the wild don't go to the health club to work out, yet without drugs, medical visit, surgeries, or formalized exercise routines, animals in the wild have virtually no disease or illness and live 3 to 5 times longer than human beings. The point is, you do not have to get sick. Being sick is not normal. It is abnormal. Most people think they are healthy, but they really have no idea how good they could feel. Is there a place for surgery and drugs? The answer is absolutely yes. Medical science has done a very good job at addressing symptoms. However, the treatment of symptoms has 2 flaws. First, the treatment itself usually causes more problems which will have to be treated later. Second, the cause of the symptom is usually never addressed. When you do not address the cause, you are allowing the problems later on. With that said, if you are in an emergency situation such as that caused by a sudden accident of some sort, drugs and surgery can save your life. However, drugs and surgery have failed at preventing illness, and they do not address the cause of illness. Nevertheless, they do work well in emergency crisis situations. The bottom line is, if you fall off a ladder and puncture a kidney, you want to be rushed to the closest emergency room and have a trained medical doctor use drugs and surgery to save your life. But if you want to stay healthy and never have a disease, drugs and surgery are not the answer. I will explain this in more detail in later chapters. So if trillions of dollars in scientific research has failed in producing ways to prevent and cure illness and disease, and all natural and inexpensive prevention methods and cures do exist, why aren't you hearing about them? The answer may surprise you. Wow. Wow. So, those are some good points. So I did look up the overweight thing. So according to this AI overview, according to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, 73.6 of American adults in the U.S. were overweight or obese between 2017 and 2018, including 41.9% who were obese. This is similar to other estimates, with the NIDDK reporting that 30.7 of adults are overweight, and the Food Research and Action Center reporting that 31.6 are overweight. Wow, that's 73.6. That's wow. Wow. Another thing that I wanted to point out, I didn't know that about like chimpanzees and stuff like that, animals in the wild. It's common sense. But if you think about it, they don't get sick. Now, when I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying from what I see on TV. But if chimpanzees live or certain animals are living 3 times longer than humans, I'm sure that's not like physically. I'm talking about according to their lifespan. Wow. Wow. Now, you go to the zoo, you might see animals, with diseases, but they're, of course, being maintained by humans. And their diet might not be what their diet should be, and they're not running around in the wild and like how they normally be. So that could play a role in that. But that is very interesting. But let's keep going. I hope y'all enjoying this so far. Chapter 3. It's all about the money. My contention is that there are all natural cures for virtually every disease and ailment. These cures are being suppressed and hidden from you by your pharmaceutical industry, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Trade Commission, as well as other groups. The question that arises most often when I make these statements is, what is the motive for such a thing to occur? The answer is simple: money and power. Most people have no idea just how powerful a motivating force money and power can be. Money does indeed make the world go around. The love of money, which is the definition of greed, is in fact the root of all evil. Think about some obvious facts. 90% of all people in prison today are there because of a money-related crime. Interesting, isn't it? Money is such a powerful force, people will risk going to jail for it. 75% of all murders are committed for money. People's insatiable desire to have money actually drives them to kill another human being. The publicly traded corporations have a legal responsibility to increase profits. It's the law. Think about it. With a rare exception, every single business has one objective: to make more profits. The only way the companies make more profits is by producing their product at the lowest possible cost, selling it at the highest possible price, and selling it as much as they can. Every decision a company makes is to increase profits. Companies, however, are run by people. People have two motivations. First, to make more money for themselves personally, and second, to increase their power, prestige, and influence. Therefore, the individuals who run companies will always make decisions based on what can personally enrich themselves. Very few individuals are concerned about the good of mankind, the environment, or achieving some spiritual nirvana. To varying degrees, decisions are based on the answer to the question, what is in it for me? In business, is everything always about money? Yes, throughout history of big business, planned obsolescence have been standard operating procedure. This is when a product is manufactured in such a way so that it will wear out or need to be replaced. The product could have been made to last a very long time, but in order for the company to ensure future profits, it knowingly manufactured an item that was inherently flawed. You know what? Think about that for a minute. Let's say like you get a nice pair of shoes, right? They probably could have been made, especially with all the technology we got right now, they probably could have made in such a way that they last 3 times longer than they do now. But it's what he's saying is, and it makes sense, because the goal is, if you could only buy one pair of shoes that lasts 5 years, let's say, how is the shoe company making good money? So what they do is, they get the sports figures to promote their, take Jordans, for example, a pair of Jordans, right? Everybody's going to buy them just because they Jordans. But Jordan going to want you to keep coming back to buy more. So he won't make them. I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm just saying, I'm just using it as an example. Make them in a way where they wear out faster and you got to get them again. I mean, it's kind of genius, but it's messed up. So it's not just sneakers; it's everything. It's clothing. It's things you use around the house, or you know what I mean. It could be anything. Why would they make it sturdy and strong to the point where you don't have to buy that product again? How would they make money? He's got a point. I mean, I don't know who's doing that, but I'm just saying he's got a point. That makes sense. It's kind of genius in a way because you keep people coming back, but at the same time, you're purposely putting something out there that's not good quality. I don't know. That made me think. Let's continue. Thus, it planned for the product's obsolescence, all in the name of profits. In today's business environment, companies only do things that either increase sales, decrease the cost of the product, or guarantee a higher price for the product. A simplified example of this can be seen with restaurants that are located in the airport. The restaurant has a monopoly. There is no competition. Since the restaurant knows it is not relying on repeat business, it does not have to give good quality food, good service, or fair price. Have you ever gotten a great meal and great service at a great price at an airport restaurant? I sure haven't. Why? Because they don't have to. Giving good service and a good product at a fair price will not increase the profit at an airport restaurant because they're not relying on repeat customers. Another example is outsourcing. Why are hundreds of companies laying off millions of American workers and outsourcing this work to people in other countries? Because it's cheaper. Remember, the corporation officers and the directors of publicly traded companies have a legal responsibility to increase profits. If they don't, they will lose their jobs. Big business will always make decisions based on profit, not what is good for the employee, what is good for the customer, what is good for the environment, what is good for society, or what is good for mankind. Let's look at the drug industry. Let's say you sell insulin to diabetics. Would you be happy if someone discovered an herb that when taken cured a person's diabetes so that they never needed insulin again? Of course not. You would be out of business. As an interesting note, there is such a cure for diabetes. The person who discovered it was offered $30 million by a major pharmaceutical company not to market it. It's all about the money. Healthcare, defined the treatment, prevention, and diagnosis of disease, is the most profitable industry in the world. As long as people are sick, billions and billions of dollars in profit are made every year. Think about it. There are enormous amounts of money to be made as long as people stay sick. A healthy person, on the other hand, doesn't spend any money on the healthcare industry. A healthy person does not need to buy drugs, does not get medical treatment, and is a liability to the corporations involved in the healthcare. If every person was healthy and disease-free, the drug companies and virtually the entire healthcare industry would be out of business. To the drug companies and virtually all corporations involved in the healthcare, you are nothing more than a customer. As long as you are sick, you are a potentially good customer. There is no financial incentive for the healthcare industry in having people live disease-free. There is no financial incentive to prevent or cure disease. Rather, the entire healthcare industry is driven by one overshadowing motive: to make money. The entire healthcare industry is run by individual people in the form of officers and directors of the publicly traded corporations that make up the industry. These people are, with a rare exception, some of the most ruthless, wealthiest, and greediest people on the planet. Is this true? Let's examine a fictitious, or maybe not so fictitious, scenario. Yo, now that's crazy. He said that there was a man, you see, I tried to Google it, that was paid $30 million to not put something out there that could cure diabetes. I can't find it though. I can't find it. That is crazy. If that's true, that is crazy. But wow. 400, what's that say? $412.9 billion in healthcare dollars for diabetes. Wow. Yeah, that's something. That's something. Hey, your goal is to not be sick and or make sure your loved ones is not sick or live a healthy life. You're gonna find some weird stuff like this or educating yourself. You know what I mean? Like I ain't even gonna hold you. I would have loved to sit down and have a conversation with Dr. Sabi. Man was on to the right thing. I know we come from the earth. We do come from the earth. It makes sense that the earth, our cure would be, or that should come from where we come from, right? It's kind of like, I look at it like this, like if you have a Cadillac and something goes wrong with it, you could take it to a Ford dealership, but you're probably better off going to a Cadillac dealership to get it worked on, right? Because they're going to have your parts and everything. So if we come from the earth, I mean, kind of like makes sense, right? It makes sense. Anyway, let's continue.
Imagine there's a scientist working in a lab somewhere. He makes a breakthrough discovery. A small plant is found in the Amazon that, when made into tea and consumed, eliminates all cancer in the body within 1 week. Imagine this researcher proclaiming that he has given this tea to 1,000 cancer patients and that every single one of them within 1 week and without having undergone surgery was found to have absolutely no cancer in their body. Eureka! A cure for cancer. A simple, inexpensive, all-natural cure with no side effects. Just a simple plant that you make into a tea and drink. It has absolutely no side effects at all. It's pure, all natural, and it costs just pennies. Imagine a scientist announcing his discovery to the world. Certainly, he will win a Nobel Peace Prize. Certainly, the world medical community will be rejoicing. No more cancer. Every cancer patient could drink this tea in 1 week and be free of all their cancer. Every person who lives with the fear of getting cancer could now know they could simply drink a few cups of this tea, which cost them only a few pennies, and they could avoid ever getting cancer. My, the world will be a better place. Unfortunately, you'll never hear this story. Not because the story is not true, but because if this simple herbal tea, which cures all cancer, was allowed to be sold, there would be no need for the American Cancer Society. There will be no need for any drug companies that are manufacturing and selling cancer drugs. There will be no need for any individual cancer research funding. Cancer clinics around the world will close. Hundreds and thousands of people will be put out of work. Entire industries will shut down overnight, and billions and billions and billions of dollars in profit will no longer be funneling into the kingpins who control the cancer industry. So when this person makes this discovery, what happens? In some cases, these people simply vanish. In other cases, these people were given hundreds of millions of dollars for their research. And still, other cases, the federal government raided these researchers' office, confiscated the data, and jailed the researchers for practicing medicine without a license. Is this a fantasy or is this truth? Well, the healthcare industry has a dirty little secret, and I'm blowing the whistle on it. The conversation I heard, the meetings I have attended, the papers I have read, and the inside information that I've received about the healthcare fraud going on in this world has made me mad as hell. And I am not going to take it anymore. I've been dubbed the whistleblower because I'm blowing the whistle on the most profitable industry in the world, healthcare. I'm exposing the lies, the frauds, the scams. I'm letting the cat out the bag. Like other industries, once the truth is made known, things will begin to change. Is it true that the healthcare industry is holding back natural, inexpensive cures for disease and illness? Could it be true that the only motivation in healthcare is profits? Let's just look at recent history. We've heard the stories of the inventors who had carburetors that would make automobiles run 1,000 miles to a gallon of gasoline. We've heard that the automobile industry paid off those inventors with millions of dollars to secure the patents and then buried those patents and never used the technology.
Now that's crazy. Now I don't think I found that story, but I did find something that I want to share. All right, so this man, Tom Ogle, El Paso, the inventor of the Oglemobile, dead at the age of 26. Now, let me see. Let's go down. So it says this is how he died. It says Tom Ogle, the inventor of a purported car that gets super gasoline mileage, was under police guard at Thomas General Hospital after he was shot outside a Northeast bar early Tuesday. Police Lieutenant John Lanahan said Ogle drove himself to the Northeast police station early Tuesday. Ogle told police he had been wounded in the stomach outside a Sunburnt Lounge at 9870 Dyer at about 1:30 a.m. All right. So he was shot. He was shot by, he said he was shot by a Mexican man. But I'm going to go down to something. Check this out. Let me see. Let's go down. It's just reading this. All right. Let's go down. Hold on. Okay. So they said that there's more to this than meets the eye. Ogle gained national attention in 1977 when he drove a Times reporter to, what's that word? Deming, New Mexico. I don't know. Sorry if I mispronounced that city. So he drove a Time reporter from Deming, New Mexico, and back almost 200 miles on what appeared to be 2 gallons of gasoline. Wow. Wow. And this was in 1977. Check this out. The El Paso mechanic wonder car, soon dubbed the Oglemobile, used an inventive vaporized fuel system that eliminated the need for a carburetor. It says that along with Ogle's sudden national attention came partner problems, royalties, and patent conflicts and bills. In June 1978, Ogle sold the marketing rights of his invention to a Seattle firm, Advanced Fuel System Incorporated. 6 months later, the Securities Exchange Commission slapped an injunction on the Seattle firm, claiming it had violated registration and anti-fraud provisions of federal security laws. Let's keep going. Check this out. The firm continued to develop Ogle's invention for mass marketing. A year ago, the firm president, Bern Searsley, said the system was not ready for mass marketing. When it is, the story will break through national media, he boasted. Now, the interesting thing, because then it goes in talking about the guy who invented it, right? But the interesting thing here is, that was in the 70s. Why hasn't that car been out? Why haven't they put it out there? So, I mean, that is strange. That is strange. I know if I had a car that could go 100 miles to a gallon, 2 gallons, I had an invention, I'm first and foremost, I'm not selling it. I'm not going to sell the patent for it. I'm going to, put it out there. But there's people who obviously wouldn't want you to do that because you're going to start digging in other people's pockets. So, I mean, wow. It's interesting to say the least. It's very interesting to say the least. So let's continue.
To secure the patents and then buried those patents and never used the technology. Why? Because it would cost the automobile industry billions of dollars in profit. We all know the story about how the big 3 automobile manufacturers purchased the Red Line train system in California, only to dismantle it to make it sure that the automobiles were sold. Most people don't know that a lawsuit was filed regarding the obvious antitrust issue with the big 3. They were found guilty. Corruption runs deep. In this case, it was evidenced by the judge awarding the plaintiffs an insulting $1 in damages. That's right, just $1. The big three automakers obviously paid off the right people to make sure that there were no consequences to their illegal actions. Most recently,
How do you award somebody $1? Yo, if that is true, if that is true, that is crazy. I'm gonna keep seeing if I could find something on that. I couldn't find nothing on that. I did run across this. Like I say, you gotta be careful with this stuff. Sometimes it be conspiracy theories, but we in the know kind of like got understanding that a lot of this is probably right. But check this out. This is I was just curious. I was just Googling and Googling and Googling. So it says General Motors consortium bought up the local public transit system in Los Angeles in 1944, but that wasn't really the problem. The main effect that to was to limit the amount of electric trolley buses systems to replace the streetcars due to the desire of GM to sell diesel buses. So, I mean, I ain't gonna keep reading that. I mean, I don't know if that's what he was talking about. I'm gonna search a little more, but yeah, that $1 being awarded, that's crazy. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Didn't find, I don't think I found that. I did see something. It's called a conspiracy, but it's on the Wikipedia. I guess it happened so far ago you can't find this stuff, but you can Google this and search it if you care to. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. It says the General Motors streetcar conspiracy refers to the conviction of General Motors and related companies that were involved in the monopolizing of the sale of business and supplies of national city lines. Now, remember the other one, it was called Red Line. So I think this is something else. I don't know what's going on here. It says, in subsidiaries, as well as the allegations that the defendants conspired to own or control transit systems in violation of Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. The suit, so there was an actual lawsuit, right? It says the suit was created lingering suspicions that the defendants had in fact plotted to dismantle streetcar systems in many cities in the United States as an attempt to monopolize surface transportation between 1938 and 1950. So I'm gonna stop right there. Look how long ago that was. So that's probably why when I'm searching it, I can't find it. And of course, why would anybody want you to know about this stuff? But anyway, this is going off topic. I'm just, as he's saying some things, I'm see if I can find it, see if it's true. But let's continue.
many of you have seen the movie, The Insider, or read the book about how for years the tobacco industry lied about their knowledge that the ingredients in cigarettes were highly addictive. Finally, an insider blew the whistle and told the truth. He exposed, finally, what we all assumed was true. That the research was conclusive. Cigarettes were addictive, and that the manufacturers of cigarettes knew this for years and years and years, but lied before Congress and said they have no knowledge or credible scientific evidence that cigarettes are addictive. It was a flat-out lie. Why did they lie? Money. It's all about the money. I happen to be a capitalist and an entrepreneur. Throughout my life, I have been motivated to make money. Money itself is not bad. Making money and profits is not bad. It becomes bad when it becomes greed. Making money becomes very bad when you love money. Making money and making profits is very bad when you hurt your employees, lie and deceive your customers, destroy the environment, exploit workers, illegally drive competitors out of business, and purposely sell inferior product and service. When you put money above everything else, that is when making money is a problem. Money should be used and people loved. The problem is that money is loved and people used. We have heard the phrase, the love of money is the root of all evil. The more multimillionaires I talk to, the more billionaires I talk to, the more Wall Street insiders I talk to, the more CEOs of major corporations I talk to, The more big business corporation directors I talk to, the more politicians I talk to, the more I believe that the love of money is indeed the root of all evil. I can tell you from firsthand experience that the majority of officers and directors of major publicly traded corporations are greedy beyond belief and corrupt beyond belief. Making money becomes an addiction. Making more money becomes an all-consuming, compulsive motivator of all these people. Making money becomes the most important thing in these people's lives. Making money and doing whatever it takes to make more money becomes the chief motivation in virtually all their decisions and actions. If making more money means lying, stealing, defrauding, falsifying, or harming other people, it's okay. If making more money means breaking the law, destroying the environment, or seeing other people suffer, it's okay. Don't believe me? Let me point out a few examples. Did you know that there are thousands and thousands of millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires in prison all around the world? Why are they in prison? Because even with their millions, they had such greed that they were willing to break the law to make more money. You may think these people are the exception. Consider this. For every drug dealer that was caught and is in prison, there are probably 1,000 drug dealers on the streets that are not caught. I can tell you firsthand that for every millionaire and corporate officer or director that is in prison for breaking the law out of greed, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of officers, directors, and wealthy stockholders who are defrauding the public, motivated by personal greed. Do you know what the number one motive for murder is? Money. That's right, money. The love of money and greed are such strong motivators that they are the number one reason people kill other human beings. It most definitely is true. Greed defines as the love of money is indeed the root of all evil. We see on TV with Enron and WellCom and Martha Stewart, individuals who have tens of millions of dollars in their bank account and are so greedy that they want more, that they will lie, defraud, cheat, and ineffectively steal money from shareholders and employees for their own personal gain. Their ethics have been thrown out of the window. They've sold their soul to the devil. There are thousands of people in every aspect of business and government that commit illegal acts, all because they want more money. It's always all about the money. Just watch reality TV. Do you know that the producers of most reality TV shows are hoping that the real people on them shows have their lives ruined on national TV? The producers make money with great ratings. If a person is physically hurt or have an emotionally traumatizing event happen, the ratings soar and the producers make more money. The more bad that happens to the individual, the more money is made. It's like feeding Christians to the lions. Why are people so happy when another person's life has been destroyed on national TV? Because when you're so interested in money, even voyeuristically, you stop caring about the people's lives. I've been in corporate boardrooms of major corporations all around the world. I've listened to people talk. I've heard firsthand. So I know that what I'm saying is true. And most important, I have been there myself. Greed motivated me to break rules, and I spent 2 years in federal prison because of it. Believe me, I know firsthand what I am talking about. Why haven't you heard this before? Well, for decades, what went on in the mafia was a secret. No one even admitted that the La Cosa Nostra existed. Finally, one person, Joe Valenci, came and blew the whistle on the inner workings of the organized crime. Since that time, dozens of former mafiosos have come forward to share the secrets that went on behind closed doors. In a similar fashion, the inner workings of the tobacco industry have been shrouded in secrecy. Finally, a man with a conscience came forward at the risk of his own life and blew the whistle on the greed, lies, and deceit that was directly responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of people. Think about it. Where are the weapons of mass destruction? They are in every package of cigarettes. Today, I'm one of the first to come forward from the inside to tell you the truth about the people who run Big Pharma. You may be under the illusion that the drug companies have officers and directors whose sole passion in life is to prevent and cure disease for the benefit of mankind, but I am pulling back the curtains and exposing the great eye for the fraud that he really is. You may hear the cry, pay no attention to the man behind the curtains. But do not be deceived. The officers and the directors of the big corporations that make up the healthcare industry are not benevolent, wonderful people with compassion and a desire to rid the world of illness. When the curtain is pulled back and the true identities are revealed, we see outrageously wealthy people whose greed, insatiable desire to make more money, and contempt for humanity is startling and mind-blowing. If you had a chance to shake these people's hands and look into their eyes, you would no longer feel safe. Just remember that the healthcare is the most profitable industry in the world. And as long as people are sick, people are making billions of dollars. The bottom line is this: the healthcare industry has no incentive for curing disease. If the healthcare industry cured the disease, they would be out of business. Their focus, as unbelievable as it sounds, is to ensure more people get sick and more people need medical treatment. That ensures profit. It's all about the money. Hospitals, drug companies, and the entire healthcare industry should really be called the sick care industry. This money machine does not make their profit by keeping people healthy, but rather finding a sick person and then selling them their outrageously expensive drugs, surgical procedures, and other medical procedures. And they make over 1.3 trillion annually doing it. Folks, I've been in the boardrooms. I've listened to these people. I've heard the CEOs of major pharmaceutical companies say things such as this: I don't care how much liver damage this drug costs, get it approved by the FDA. Pay whoever you have to pay to get the lobbyists that you have to get, but just get the drug approved. Do it. And our stock prices goes up threefold. We sell our stock and move on. And 5 years from now, when they find out about the liver damage, they'll take the drug off the market, but who cares? We would have made our money. Just do it.
Yeah, that troubled me right there. To put something out on the market that could cause something like liver damage and not worry about the lawsuits and whatever comes behind it, because you're going to make so much money that you're still going to come out with a bigger profit on the end. Bothers me. That's troubling right there. And the fact that they can keep doing this, if this is really happening, that is very alarming. This is why I say educate yourself. You know, they used to say something, you want to hide something, you put it in a book. I'm going to share this with y'all, right? Real fast. I bought this book for 50 cents. Yep. I didn't go to Amazon, or I didn't go into Barnes and Noble. I didn't go into any bookstore to find this book. It was a yard sale, and it was my neighbors doing it, and I just wanted to support. So I was looking, and there's nothing I really wanted. So I started looking at the books, and I seen this book. 50 cents, I bought this book. And I sat down and I read it. I haven't even finished reading it. I think I'm like a couple hundred pages in. And I was just like, wow. And I would have conversations with people like, did you know this? And did you know this? Or have you considered this? And have you considered this? You know, especially when they start talking about the a lot of stuff that, you know, the powerful companies and government is doing. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you can see receipts for these things. And it's mind blowing. You'll see. You keep listening. Or if you go get the book yourself, or books like these where they're exposed, you'd be surprised at a lot of stuff, and we just eat it up and gobble it up, everything they say, and you think about it, we just keep getting sicker and they keep getting richer. It's a trend. We are getting sicker they're getting rich. I'll give you a prime example that I'm thinking about, right? What's the thing called again? Crohn's. Crohn's disease, right? I'm gonna use this for example, just in my personal experience. I know one of my childhood friends had Crohn's disease, and I found out like later on, like uh, probably like 6 years ago. He told me he had it. I was like, oh wow. Before he said it, I didn't even hear of it before. I didn't even know what it was. Today, I currently know at least 6 people that I see on a daily basis that have it. I'm like, well, where did this disease come from? It's like, and I'm sure it probably was a disease that was around. And if you listen to this, you might know quite a few people that had it that has it and had it for a while or whatever. But for me personally, I haven't heard of it before. And all of a sudden, it's just boom. Just like if you think about when cancer first came out, when cancer first hit the world, because you go back to the early times, the early times. You don't really, we're not there to see it, but you can imagine cancer wasn't an issue. But now you got cancer is bombarding the system. So, I mean, yeah, that just upset me. Let's continue going. This is getting along. We got one more half of a chapter I'm gonna read, and then we're gonna close it up. If this is long, pause it, pick it back up, listen to it later. You know what I mean? Remember where you left off at. This is good information. I'm gonna keep doing things like this. I'm gonna keep trying. This gonna inspire me to want to read more, but different books and stuff that people probably won't read. And if I find gems in there, I would love to share them. But let's continue.
That is why I am mad as hell. I am not going to take it anymore. Is it always just about the money? Are natural remedies and cures being suppressed and hidden from us just because greedy people and corporations want to make more money? Is it true that money makes the world go round? Yes. We must understand that the number one motivator in the world is making money. We read about it every day. So let's look at who's involved. Chapter 4. Who are they? The thing that bugs me, this is a quote. The thing that bugs me is that the people think that the FDA is protecting them. It isn't. What the FDA is doing and what the public thinks it's doing are as different as night and day. By Herbert Lay, an MD, former FDA commissioner.
Herbert L. Lee Jr. And this is what I'm talking about when you can find receipts. We got receipts. Now check this out, because this is crazy. All right, so Dr. Lay attended Harvard College from 1941 to 1943. He returned after World War II, where he received his MD degree from cum laude or laude. I don't know. Don't hold me to the pronunciation of a lot of names. I'm not the best reader. I'm just trying to play my part. Anyway, in 1946 to 1951, he earned his Master of Public Health degree in Harvard School of Public Health. All right, we want to skip down. We don't need to hear about his credentials. We see that he's official. All right, check this out. Let's go to his FDA. So he said this is the guy who just made this quote. Now check this out. In September of 1966, Lay took a leave of absence from his position to become a director of the Bureau of Medicine of the Food and Drug Administration. And on July 1st of 1968, he was appointed commissioner to the Food and Drug Administration by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Yes, Lyndon B. Johnson was the vice president of John F. Kennedy when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, if I'm not mistaken. So he kind of like had to assume that role as president. But that's who appointed this guy. Okay. Lay served as the FDA commissioner for only a year and a half, and he was ousted
in December of 1969. Ousted. Let's keep reading. His 3 years at the FDA came during the time when the FDA grew from an insignificant agency to the key agency protecting consumers. Keyword, protecting consumers. During that time, 300 drugs were removed from the market. After he left, Lee stated that he had constant, tremendous, sometimes unmerciful pressure from the drug industry, and that the drug companies, lobbyists, combined with politicians who worked on behalf of their patrons, could bring tremendous pressure to bear on him and his staff to try preventing FDA restrictions on their drugs. Lay complained that his agency faced budget shortfalls and lacked support from the Department of Health and Education and Welfare and Congress. Lay was on the master's list of Nixon's political opponents. An example of the clashes the FDA had with pressure groups involved the drug company Upjohn. Never heard of that. Upjohn. Yeah. Not worth looking into, but the company called Upjohn and their patented drug how you say that? Penalba. Penalba was a combination of tetracycline and an inexpensive and effective generic drug with Novabicin, a more toxic antibacterial with a different spectrum of activity. Now, the key word here is more toxic, right? Toxic. So if it's toxic, you're putting toxic things in your body, all right? More toxic. Let's keep reading. An inexpensive and effective generic drug with, I read that already. A more toxic antibacterial with different spectrums of activity. Although Upjohn had been marketing the drug for 7 years, they had not done any of the required studies on the efficacy of it. So the FDA under Lay moved to decertify it. Lay met tremendous opposition from Upjohn. So it sounds like this former commissioner had a problem with a major company, Upjohn. Now I'm curious. Right, real fast. This Upjohn company, because now I'm curious. Upjohn was an American pharmaceutical manufacturing firm founded in 1986 in Hastings, Michigan by Dr. E. Upjohn, who was an 1875 graduate of the University of Michigan. All right, so we know they existed. Let's see if they exist today. I'm just curious. But I want to stay on focus. Let's scroll down. I see it's 2020. Hold on. In 1995, Upjohn merged with Pharmacia AB to form Pharmacia and Upjohn. The company was owned by Pfizer from 2002 until 2020. Pfizer. Okay. Wow. Digging deep in the crates now. All right. So in 2015, Pfizer resurrected the Upjohn name for a division which manufactures and licensed drugs for which patients have expired. As of 2019, it planned to divest itself of the business in 2020. In July 2019, Pfizer announced plans to merge with Upjohn and Mylan. The merger was expected to close in the first half of 2020, but was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The merger was completed in November 2020, and the new company was named Viatris. So this company still exists in a way. Let's go back to what we was reading. The highest profile issue that Lay had to confront was sodium
How do you say that? Kaislamic, I guess. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm not the best reader. So if you're watching this, just read it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I pronounce it wrong, you pronounce it right. Okay. An artificial sweetener. We going somewhere. We're going somewhere. I want to say something after this. It was originally brought to the market as a flavoring ingredient in drugs. But in 1958, it was designated GRAS, generally recognized as safe. Okay, GRAS. So it was generally recognized as safe in 1958. And its uses expanded, first into table sugars, then into many foods. By 1969, annual sales of Kaisalamite had reached $1 billion. However, by that time, some animal studies had shown that very high doses of Kaisalamite at levels of humans ingesting 350 cans of diet sodas per day led to a higher rates of bladder cancer in rats. Wow. Amidst the growth of the environmental movement and its concern with chemicals, pressures mounted on the government to restrict the use of Kaisalamite. In October 1969, the Department of Health and Education and Welfare Secretary Robert Finch bypassed Lay and the FDA and removed the GRAS designation from Kaisalamite, banning its use in general purpose foods but keeping it available for restricted use in dietary products with additional labeling. In October 1970, a year after Lay left, the FDA banned Kaisalamite completely from all food and drug products in the United States. All right, this stuff is bad. Why was it allowed to be on the market for that long? I'm going to skip down to after the FDA. So this is his life after the FDA. So it says, after his resignation, in an interview with New York Times, Dr. Lay warned the public about the FDA's inability to safeguard consumers. People were being misled, he believed. The thing that bugs me is that people think the FDA is protecting them. It isn't. What the FDA is doing and what the public thinks it's doing are as different as night and day, he said. And that was that quote that we read in the beginning. So you can look this up for yourself because I want to get back to the book. But wow. Like I said, you have receipts here. We have receipts. These people exist. This person really said that. This person really lived that life. So it makes you think. Now, what I want to touch on real fast is, because I do know, here, I'll tell you right here. I got you. Hold on. Now, check this out. This is just me doing a Google search of aspartame and the FDA's approval. You don't know what aspartame is, I'll explain later. All right, but check this out. It says, this is the first thing you Google if you say FDA, aspartame FDA approval history. It says the U.S. Food and Drug Administration first approved aspartame in 1974, but then revoked its approval in 1980. The FDA approved aspartame again in 1981. Aspartame is a methyl ester of aspartic acid. I'm going to struggle with that last word. Phenylalanine dipeptide, and is sold under the brand names as NutraSweet, Equal, and Canderel. Now, aspartame, family, do your homework on aspartame. They call it the sweet poison. It's not good for you. They put it in diet sodas. They put it in, it's even in chewing gum. You see, this should lead you to want to read labels. Yeah, read labels. See what's on the back of the label. I mean, what's on the label of what you're about to eat. Do your homework on aspartame, family. I would. But the point I'm making is the FDA took it off the market after they approved it and then put it right back out there. Took it off, put it right back out there. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'll be surprised to see how much money somebody's making off of aspartame. But anyway, let's continue on. Get back to the book.
Drugs and surgery are being promoted as the only answer to the prevention and cure of illness and disease. Natural cures are being suppressed and hidden from the public. So who is involved in the great lie that may expose the culprits? The pharmaceutical companies. These include not only the companies that sell drugs, but also the companies that research and develop drugs. It also includes all the suppliers in the healthcare industry of such things as syringes, gauze, medical tape, tubing, plastic bottles, tongue depressors, etc. There are over 10,000 individual pharmaceutical pieces of equipment that are used up and have to be resupplied on an ongoing basis. The profits are astronomical. The money this group of companies make is mind-boggling. Next, the food companies. You may ask, how do food companies get involved in the healthcare? Where there is a huge correlation between food and healthcare. I'll explain this in detail in later chapters. Keep in mind, many food companies are directly or indirectly involved in the pharmaceutical industry through corporate ownership, affiliates, affiliated business transactions, or by officers and directors personally owning stock in the pharmaceutical company, or by officers and directors personally owning stock in the pharmaceutical companies. Food companies include the companies that actually manufacture and sell food directly to us, but also include fast food restaurants and the suppliers of the food industry, the actual growers of the food. Thirdly, the trade association. The number of associations involved in the healthcare industry is enormous. Keep in mind, these associations are not in place to eliminate disease or keep people healthy. When you read their charters, you'll find out that they are there to promote the disease in an effort to get additional funding and protect its members, which are the drug companies and doctors. These associations include, and here's a list of them. This list is just the tip of the iceberg.
All right, my apologies, family. So I don't have the list. I didn't put it up there. I'm not about to read all of it. I'll just read a few of them. Some of the more notable ones. All right, so on his list, he got the Alzheimer's Association, American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. Let me skip down. American Academy of Neurology, American Academy of Pediatrics, American Association of Immunologists. What else? It's a bunch. Trust me, it's a bunch. I was planning on displaying the list for you to see it, but I didn't. American Red Cross, American Lung Association, American Liver Foundation, American Heart Association. The list goes on. It's almost every association that you could think of that he has on this list. All right. So I just because I said the list was as following and I didn't show it, I figured I'd just read some of them. But it's over, if I had to guess, it's over 50. Maybe upwards of 100. I don't know, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, let's continue on.
This list is just the tip of the iceberg. These associations are incredibly powerful. Remember, these associations are not organizations with the goal of curing and preventing disease or protecting the consumer. These associations do not represent you. They represent their members. the companies, the corporations, and the people that are making the money. The associations, such as the American Medical Association, have no interest in what benefits the consumer. They only have an interest in what benefits the members. And the people that run these associations have an interest in keeping their high-paying, cushy jobs. Charities and foundations. These organizations sound great, but have you met the people who run them? The officers, the directors of most of the charities and foundations have huge salaries and enormous expense accounts. They fly first class and sometimes on private jets. They stay in the most expensive hotels and eat at the finest restaurants, all with your donations. Some foundations and charities have been found to spend over 40% of all their donations on administration costs. Now, every time I go to the supermarket, or you might see, anytime you use your card, there's always asking for donations for this foundation or that foundation. I tell you what, if that's true, you're just donating for somebody to live a lavish lifestyle. See, a lot of us donate with our heart, so we'll be like, yeah, I want to give to the cause, and it'll help children in the world and people with this sickness. If this is true, what he's saying, your donations is going towards a lavish lifestyle. That's crazy. That is crazy. If I'm donating, I'd rather go from my pocket to the pocket of the parents of that sick one, or to that sick one. You know what I'm saying? Like, give to them, not to a corporation who's claiming they're trying to go out here and heal the world when, from a statistical standpoint, I don't see much healing. Matter of fact, we starting to learn about more new diseases because people around us are getting them. Like I said, we should be way further along with cancer than we are. Cancer is as worse as it's ever been. But you got a cancer society. You can donate to cancer. They do walks for breast cancer and stuff like that, but people still getting them. Where's all this money going towards? Is the money really going to defeating it? Because if it is, wouldn't the companies who selling the drugs to treat it, when I say treat it so that you can live with it, not get rid of it? So you got to keep coming to them and buying it. Wouldn't that go into their pockets? Wouldn't they be upset? The rabbit hole gets deep, man. It gets deep. And like I said, this is this man's opinion in this book, but it's some things that make you go, like real talk. Like, it's some things that make you go, Let's keep going. Think about it. If a foundation used the money it received to cure a disease, there would be no need for all the foundations, and the fat cats would lose their prestigious jobs and all the perks that go along with them. Yes, it's always about the money, but consider the second most powerful motivator for people is the combination of power and prestige. Think about when you ask yourself, why are natural cures being hidden from us? Consider this. Jerry Lewis Telethon has raised over $1 billion for muscular dystrophy, yet more people have muscular dystrophy today than ever before. Lobbyists. These is the hidden, secret group of people in Washington that most of you have no idea even exists. Real fast. Remember when we was reading on that lay guy that was a former FDA commissioner, and he said some of his biggest pressures came from the lobbyists. Yeah, the lobbyists. Just keep that in mind. These people on an average make between $300,000 to $400,000 a year, plus hundreds of thousands more in perks. Their job is simple: to walk up to a congressman or senator and try to persuade them to take them to a certain line of thinking, or to pass a certain piece of legislation, or to vote a certain way. Now, how do they do that? Well, the lobbyists can't walk up to the member of Congress and say, please vote a certain way on this bill and I will give you 200,000. That would be called a bribe. But what lobbyists can do is say, do you have a son or a daughter, Mr. Congressman? You do? Fantastic. You know, I know your son and your daughter has absolutely no experience whatsoever, but we would like to give your son or your daughter a job for 200,000 a year. And the best part is they don't even have to show up for work. Oh, by the way, Mr. Congressman, can you please vote a certain way on this particular piece of legislation, which helps who I represent? Wow. Now tell me that is not creative. That sounds like something the mafia would do. Really? That's how they doing it? Yo. Yo. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Lobbyists also bribe members of Congress, although Congress has passed laws to make them legally not a bribe by doing other things. Lobbyists may make huge donations to a Congress favorite charity or school or hire companies that the congressman is affiliated with in some sort of way. Folks, that's what's happening in Washington. Lobbyists absolutely bribe and pay off congressmen, but according to the law, it's not called a bribe or a payoff. It is technically legal. And who makes the laws? The congressman. Pretty interesting, isn't it? They make a law to make sure that what they do is legal. Can you begin to see why I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? The government agencies, primarily the Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Trade Commission. Isn't it surprising that it's the Food and Drug Administration? Why not two separate agencies? The organizations is one of the most powerful organizations in the country. They use Gestapo-like tactics to put natural cures out of business. They act as a judge, jury, and executioner. They raid companies unannounced to seize products such as bread, herbal remedies, vitamins and minerals, computers, files, research data, and equipment. They conduct these raids with armed agents with guns drawn. They seize harmless products, paper, document, computers, like the Gestapo did in Nazi Germany, without provocation, with no customer or consumer complaints, and without warning. There have been several outstanding books and articles written about the FDA operates. But in the end, the FDA is the agency that approves drugs. And when the company gets a drug approved, it's like putting billions of dollars in profits in the bank. So companies will do anything to get the FDA to approve drugs. It's interesting to note that of the last 20 FDA commissioners, 12 of them went to work directly for the drug industry upon leaving the FDA and were paid millions of dollars. That's a violation. That's a major violation. I'm not even going to try to Google that because I know I'm not going to be able to find that kind of information. But if the FDA commissioners, I am going to try to Google it. Why not? But if the FDA, the former FDA commissioners go to work for pharmaceutical companies, we being hoodwinked, y'all. We being hoodwinked. The FDA is supposed to protect us, not them. They put a drug out and it's supposed to treat this illness or this disease. The FDA is supposed to go and be like, all right, we're going to put testing. We're going to figure it out. And if it's good, we'll allow it to be released. That's what the FDA is supposed to do. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. What he is insinuating, the FDA is in bed with the drug companies. That's a violation. That's true. That is a major violation. You see why I don't trust the world? I mean, really don't trust the world. I really don't. I don't. I just don't. Because he said something that was key in the beginning. And it's something we all know, especially if we know the Bible.
For the love of money is the root to all evil. Not money's the root of all evil, but for the love of money. So these people who put out these drugs and all this stuff, they already solidified their wealth for generations and generations and generations. But they love money, power, and prestige so much, they can't stop. It's like an addiction. And they're getting it on the backs of people being sick. Like, let's think about the drug companies. Let's think about the drug companies that we know are under lawsuit because they put something out that was bad for us, right? What you think happens to them? And they get a slap on the wrist. Now, if they have to pay $250 million, you might look at that and say, that's no slap on the wrist. That's $250 million. But what if they made 5 times that amount? No, that's crazy. It's like they pay the cost to continue to, and they're not ever, from what I see, not shut out of business. They just take on a new name or adopt it by a new company. You get me? And they continue on. And they just come and keep coming and keep coming. Pfizer has had a lot of lawsuits. I do know that before I even read this book. All right? A lot. Pfizer was in trouble with certain things that they put out there. And Pfizer didn't go away. Guess what Pfizer ended up doing? We remember COVID-19 that just happened. Where do you think the vaccines came from? Pfizer. Do your research. Matter of fact, they're calling, if I'm not mistaken, they are calling, I think his name is Anthony Fauci or something like that, whatever it is. He's supposed to be the head of Pfizer or something like that, or he's something like that. He has to answer in court for some of the things about the vaccine. Yeah. So, and this is not on the news. You're not seeing this on the news. This is not on Good Morning America or nothing like that. This is stuff that happens and the press is not invited to. So you don't find out about it. But this is what's going on behind the scenes. Man, listen, let's keep going. Because that's just my opinion. That's all it is. But let's keep going. Let's be honest. That's a payoff. It should be illegal. It's a conflict of interest and it's wrong. More on the FDA in the later chapter. Okay, let's go through each of these organizations and let me show you that it's all about the money. The pharmaceutical industry. Virtually every pharmaceutical company is a publicly traded company, which means that the officers and the directors have legal responsibility to increase shareholder value. That means that the officers and the directors of virtually every pharmaceutical company have a legal responsibility to increase profits. The only way they use increased profits is to sell more of what they sell and produce those products at a lower cost. The drug companies, therefore, have one goal, and that is to sell more drugs and produce those drugs at the cheapest possible cost. Think about that. A drug company objective is not to cure disease. A drug company goal is to sell more drugs. You are their customers. They want you to use more drugs every single year. They want to produce those drugs at the lowest possible cost, and they want to do whatever they can to make sure that they sell those drugs at the highest possible price. That's why there is a huge debate about people buying pharmaceutical drugs from other countries. The FDA makes up this silly excuse that a country like Canada doesn't produce drugs under the same safety guideline as America. How arrogant. The fact is that American pharmaceutical companies want a monopoly. They do not want anybody competing with their sales. Therefore, they have managed to coax
the federal government into forbidding any American to purchase pharmaceutical drugs outside of America. They are in effect stopping free trade and stopping competition, which would result in a lower price. Why is the FDA doing that? As I mentioned to you before, the drug industry gives millions of dollars to the commissioners when they leave the FDA. All right, real fast, I just did like a Google search, the richest pharmaceutical companies. I ain't even gonna lie, out of all of these companies, well, let's say I can show more. Let me go ahead and show more. Show more. Show what they got. All right. All right, so let's go back to the top of the list. This is the one I want to focus on right here. You see this one? Johnson and Johnson. Aren't they under a lawsuit right now for their powder? If you took Johnson and Johnson and you got this certain kind of cancer, you might be eligible for be part of a class action lawsuit. Yep. And they're third on the list. Look at the kind of money they bringing in, family. $800 billion for Eli Lilly. $620 billion for Novo Nordisk. Johnson and Johnson, $350 billion. Man, listen, let's keep going. Let's keep going. It's a payoff. Remember, a drug company do not want people to get well. A drug company's goal is not to cure disease. If everyone in the world was healthy, the drug companies would be out of business. The drug company only wants to sell you more drugs. So here is how the cycle works. The drug industry gives billions of dollars to the medical schools. Why? So that their drugs can be put in the textbook and the doctors are taught to prescribe certain pharmaceutical drugs, thus guaranteeing sales of those drugs by the pharmaceutical companies. Remember, in medical school, doctors are taught two things: to prescribe drugs and to cut out parts of a person's anatomy, which is surgery. When a doctor comes out of medical school, most people don't know that the pharmaceutical industry then pays the doctor to prescribe certain drugs. Often this is done through incentives. For example, if a doctor prescribes a certain drug to 10 patients, he is given thousands of dollars in cash from the pharmaceutical companies. Drug companies routinely give doctors all expenses paid trips to medical conferences around the world. These medical conferences are really sales presentations by the drug companies, teaching a doctor about drugs and how to prescribe them, and giving financial incentives to prescribe those drugs. They are disguised as medical conferences. They are not. The experts at these medical conferences are compensated by the drug industry. So doctors are trained in a medical school to prescribe drugs and are given incentives and additional training throughout their medical career directly by the drug industry to prescribe more drugs. Research. In order for drug companies to get a drug patented and approved by the FDA, it costs approximately $800 million in research and testing. Where does the $800 million go? Well, let's just follow the money trail. Remember, it's always about the money. The companies that are approved by the FDA to do certain research, interestingly enough, are publicly traded companies. Guess who owns the stock in these publicly traded companies? Would it surprise you to know that the politicians and members of the FDA own stock in those companies? All right, real fast. I want y'all to pay attention to that. It takes $800 million to push a drug through. That $800 million is because of the research and all of that. But $800 million, pay attention to that, because that's going to come up a lot, all right? In order for drug companies to get a drug patented and approved by the FDA, it costs approximately $800 million in research and testing. Where does the $800 million go? Well, let's just follow the money trail. Remember, it's always about the money. The companies that are approved by the FDA to do certain research, interestingly enough, are publicly traded companies. Guess who owns the stock in these publicly traded companies? Would it surprise you to know that the politicians and members of the FDA own stock in those companies? It wouldn't surprise me. Would it also surprise you that the people that work for these research companies are friends and relatives of politicians and members of the FDA? It wouldn't surprise me. Once a drug is approved and a pharmaceutical company has the patent, it becomes the only company that can sell that drug. Getting a patent drug is an automatic $1 billion in the bank. This is why you'll never see the pharmaceutical company promoting a natural cure. Natural cures cannot be patented. You can only make profits if you have a patented drug. There are no large profits in selling a natural cure that cannot be patented. When you have a patented product, you are the only company that can sell it. You have no competition. You can sell it for an outrageously high price, and the profits are guaranteed. If you're selling a non-patented natural product, 100 other companies could also sell that same product. You have no monopoly. Because of the competition, the prices will come down and the profits become incredibly small. That is why the drug industry will only promote patented drugs, because that's where the profits are. This is also why the drug companies gave tens of millions of dollars to lobbyists to get the FDA to make a new law. Listen to this very carefully. The FDA has the power to make laws and enforce them. It can make laws without congressional approval or debate. In order to protect the profits of the drug industry, the FDA passed the most incredibly insane law of all time. The FDA has now made as law the following statement: only a drug can cure, prevent, or treat disease. This is insane. Think about the ramifications. The FDA has now guaranteed and protected the profits of the drug companies. Only a patented drug, according to the FDA, can treat, prevent, or cure disease. First off, we all know this is flat out untrue. So I know we don't really we might not, I know me. Sometimes they say things and it might go over your head a little bit, right? But listen to what was said. Only a patented drug can treat, cure, or prevent disease. Those are some powerful words. And that is a law that has been passed. Okay. Just in case I lose anybody, check this out. You ever heard the saying, what it say? Apple a day, keep the doctor away, right? That saying was popular back in the day. It ain't popular no more. Because to keep the doctor away, that means you're preventing, curing, or healing, right? So an apple is a fruit. It's not a drug. I just wanted to slow it down just a little bit. I'm gonna let the book keep talking. So let's let the book keep talking. But listen to this law that's been passed. I'm gonna run it back just a tidbit, just so you can hear it. But listen to this law that has been passed and watch the outcome. Watch the outcome. Listen to this very carefully. The FDA has the power to make laws and enforce them. It can make laws without congressional approval or debate. In order to protect the profits of the drug industry, the FDA passed the most incredibly insane law of all time. The FDA has now made as law the following statement: only a drug can cure, prevent, or treat disease. This is insane. Think about the ramifications. The FDA has now guaranteed and protected the profits of the drug companies. Only a patented drug, according to the FDA, can treat, prevent, or cure disease. First off, we all know this is flat out untrue. The disease scurvy, for example, which is simply a vitamin C deficiency, is treated, prevented, and cured by eating citrus fruit. According to the FDA's law, however, if you were to hold up an orange and say, this orange is the cure for the disease of scurvy, you will go to jail for selling a drug without a license. According to the FDA, as soon as you made a disease claim in reference to taking an orange, the orange is no longer an orange, but magically becomes a drug, according to the FDA. And since that drug has not been patented or approved by the FDA, you are selling a drug without a license, which is a criminal offense. You go to jail. The drug is obviously not a drug. It is an orange. This is how the FDA works to protect the profits of the pharmaceutical company and suppresses and hide the information about natural remedies. So how do the drug companies get you to buy their drugs? Years ago, the drug companies had to basically make sure that you were sick and had a problem that the drug could address. Second, they had to make sure that the doctors prescribed their particular drug. That still goes on. The pharmaceutical companies give huge cash incentives and information to the doctor about the drugs they make to ensure that the doctors, who are in fact legal drug pushers, get their drugs to you via prescriptions. Remember, the pharmaceutical companies have ensured that you are sick. How they do that? This is going to blow your mind, but it's true. One of the major reasons why there is so much sickness and disease is because of the poison you are putting in your body. The number one poison that you are putting in your body consists of prescription and non-prescription drugs.
Wow. So, all right. So, remember being young, like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. All right. So, we know lawyers, especially criminal lawyers. They say somebody does a heinous crime, but you so versed with your words, you get this person off. I mean, you're going to make good money. You may or you may not be able to live with yourself at the end of the day, but when you go to your creator, how good of a job have you done? You prevented justice from happening. Switch over to the doctor field because it's doctors and lawyers. If you're a doctor and you got the common sense, right? And you see a drug being pushed, you might not be educated on the drug, but you know, especially if you like 20 years in or something like that, you know, drugs get taken off the market left and right. And you know, with pharmaceutical companies is putting out this and putting out that, and you are getting incentives. I didn't know this. When he said it, I was like, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that when, you know, you go to the doctors and you see the doctor, you know, they check your vitals and all that, right? Make sure you're good. Okay. And you have an issue. And they're like, all right, to address this issue, and they just come up with this crazy name. You're going to take this to the pharmacy and they're going to give you this drug. It's like, wow. You notice it switches up. It's never always the same drug. As time goes on, it switches up. I'm like, how was he educated on this? How does he know that this is what I need? You know what I'm saying? You could have went from one thing, let's say 10, 15 years ago, and then go back 15 years later for the same thing, and it's a different prescription. It's a different drug. It's a new drug. Well, he been educated, obviously, about it through a conference, a medical conference. Okay, makes sense. Do he really get a is there some kind of reward for prescribing this new drug? Is there something going to that practice? Is there something going to that doctor? Is there any kind of incentives behind prescribing this new drug? Now, I don't know. He's saying it is. I don't know. But that would be crazy. So going back to what I'm saying. You're a doctor, 20 years in, right? And ultimately, according to what he's saying, you're pushing a drug on people who don't have an understanding like you. You might know that the drug is going to cause this and cause that, but you know one day it's going to get taken off the market. Meanwhile, Miss Betty done died from this, or Miss Ann done died from this. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's, I don't know, man. I used to think like doctors and lawyers was like the top jobs when I was young. Like, now, I don't know. Yeah, it's top paying, I give them that. But like to live with yourself, like if you really educate yourself on what you pushing on people, especially your people, like that's crazy, man. You shouldn't put it. Forget you people, your people shouldn't be pushing that on nobody. But I'm just saying, like it's. I don't know, man. Like I told y'all, it's a lot of stuff in this book that make me scratch my head. It's the only reason why I'm sharing it. This little 50-cent book that I purchased, it's a reason why I'm sharing it because it's like, wow. Now I don't know if everything is facts what he's saying. I don't know. Like, you see me, I'm trying to research this and research that as it goes on. But however, it's enough to make you think because we know the root to all evil is the love of money. And if we know through any recession, the pharmaceutical companies is not affected. Any depression, any type of financial crisis that's going on in the world, the pharmaceutical companies still thrive. That's enough to make you scratch your head. Like real talk. Unless you got your head in your sand like an ostrich, that's enough to make you think. Like, what might be going on here? Dr. Sebi, he's no longer with us. Why he had to go? You feel what I'm saying? Let's keep on. That's right. The prescription and non-prescription drugs you are taking to eliminate your symptoms are, in fact, one of the major reasons you are getting sick. The pharmaceutical companies know that all drugs have side effects. This is the dirty little secret that the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know. Just as the tobacco industry knew that smoking cigarettes were addictive and could cause lung cancer, yet lied for decades about this fact. The pharmaceutical industry today knows that all drugs have negative side effects and can cause further illness in the body. The pharmaceutical industry knows that the drugs people are taking are actually causing or contributing to the increase in cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and dozens of other diseases. Why is the drug industry keeping this information a secret? Mainly because it's profitable. To the increase in cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and dozens of other diseases. Why is the drug industry keeping this information a secret? Mainly because it's profitable. It is just like the tobacco industry. Look at the cycle. You start taking a drug to handle a certain symptom that you have. A few months later, you develop another medical condition. This is the new medical condition, unknown to you, was actually caused by the first drug you were taking. You now start taking another drug for the new medical condition. The drug seems to work. Your condition gets better. A few months later, you develop a new series of medical problems. Unknown to you was the fact that these new medical problems were actually caused by the last drug you were taking. You're now given more drugs for the newest medical condition. Can you see how profitable this is for the drug industry? The drug companies are doing this on purpose. They're making drugs that address one set of symptoms, but they know that if you use these drugs over a period of time, they can cause a second set of medical problems. The drug companies will then produce a drug to solve those new medical problems caused by taking their first drug. This guarantees additional drug sales and profits for the drug companies. How is this happening? Keep in mind, virtually all drug research is funded by the pharmaceutical industry. In virtually every study, drugs are found to be safe and effective. However, history has proved this not to be true. Think about all the drugs that were proven to be totally safe and effective and were approved by the FDA. Then years later, these same drugs were proven to be incredibly dangerous and to cause all types of severe medical conditions, including death. These safe and ineffective drugs were found to kill so many people that the FDA finally had to take them off the market. Interestingly enough, they were only taken off the market after the drug companies made millions of dollars in profits. Advertising. The drug industry is doing something today that it has never done before in history. Advertising. All right, so this is crazy. Real fast. So I did like a Google search of the let me see, what did I search? Back up. The pharmaceutical companies know that drugs are making people sick. So this is the National Institute of Health, right? NH in parentheses .gov. So I don't know. I just clicked on it, and this is what I found. This is crazy. I'm going down to the bullet points because we on a lot of time right now. So I'm just go down to the bullet points and check this out. Summary points, right? Let's go down to summary points, right? It says some of the medicalization may now be better described as disease mongering, extending the boundaries of treatable illness to expand markets for new products. 2. Alliances of the pharmaceutical manufacturers, doctors, and patients groups use the media to frame conditions as being widespread severe. 3. Disease mongering can include turning ordinary ailments into medical problems, seeing mild symptoms as serious, treating personal problems as medical, seeing risk as disease, and framing prevalence estimates to maximize potential markets. Corporate funding information about disease should be replaced by independent information. This is what they're saying. Let's scroll down. All right. I didn't scroll down. I went to another article. That was a lot of reading there, but real fast. All right. So you see this one. This is the Atlantic, right? It says legal drug pushing, how disease mongers keep us all doped up by manipulating our fear of suffering and death. Big pharmaceutical companies are able to keep us coming back for expensive medication. This is actually a bigger problem we think, family. It really is. It's starting to look like it. Pharmaceutical giants like small town pizza parlors have two opinions for making more money: convince regulars to buy more of what they obviously like, or find ways to persuade more people that they will be happier with this drug or with thin crust and extra cheese. Let's go down a little more. In the case of the drug companies, it's not our taste buds they're appealing to. Instead, they're marketing prescription drugs directly to consumers. A practice legal only in the United States and New Zealand. I didn't know that. By basically manipulating our fears of suffering and death. These disease mongers, as science writer Lynn Payer in her 1992 book of that name called The Drug Industry and the Doctors and Sewers and others who compromise its unofficial sales force, spin a tool to convince essentially well people that they are sick, or slightly sick people that they are very ill, changing the metrics for diagnosing a disease is one reliable technique. Dr. Adrian Fool Berman, Associate Professor of Pharmacology and Director of the Industry Watchdog Group, farmedout.org at Georgetown University School of Medicine, pointed out how the numbers used to diagnose diabetes and high cholesterol have been lowered over time. The very number we use have been reduced to the point of absurdity, she said. 120 by 80 was considered normal blood pressure. Now it's considered pre-hypertension. Wow, that's crazy. Nowadays, they're really trying to force these drugs on us, y'all. Entirely new diseases can be and have been invented to extend a manufacturer's patent on highly profitable drugs. Fool Berman said Eli Lilly stood to lose a lot of profits. And if y'all remember, Eli Lilly was one of the ones on the top of that list. I remember the list. As of July 26, 2024, Eli and Company had market cap of 771.91 billion. All right. So we see says Eli Lilly stood to lose a lot of profits once the patent expired on its hugely popular antidepressant Prozac. Yeah, I've seen commercials about Prozac. Yep, I remember that one. So they positioned this new condition, PMDD, premenstrual dystrophic disorder, and then went to physicians and the FDA with their highly paid experts who said PMDD is a tragic disease, and they got approval for Seraphin, the same drug. It's an on-label use for repackaged drug. So they put the same drug out with a different name. Y'all see what's going on here. Let's get back to the book.
It's drugs directly to the consumer. This is absolutely unbelievable. Right now, close to 2/3 of all advertising in America is for drugs. It's estimated that well in excess of 10 billion a year is spent on advertising by the pharmaceutical industry. They are advertising drugs directly to you and me and consumers. In many cases, these drug ads don't even tell you what the drug is for. They just have some celebrity that they pay huge amounts of money to, telling you about how their life is so much better because they take this particular drug. The ads show all these beautiful, happy people and give you the impression that they are all taking this wonderful drug and that their lives are much better. What you don't know is virtually every single person you see in these ads has been meticulously selected by some of the top advertising minds in the world to invoke a certain emotion in you. They are paid actors. Most do not use the drug they are promoting. When you see people dressed as doctors, policemen, judges, etc., you are being deceived, even when known figures and famous actors publicly endorse a drug or a foundation, usually funded by the pharmaceutical companies, ostensibly because they or a close friend or relative has suffered with a particular disease. They are being paid enormous sums to do so. They are actors. These ads are not truthful. Millions of dollars are spent using technology pioneered by the CIA and the KGB to produce advertising that will motivate you to not only want their drug, but
Wow. Now we got the CIA involved too. Man, you see why they was gunning for Bull. This is why they was coming for him. It's all these. It's his books. His the message that he's getting out. He's going against all these powerful agencies and companies. I look at it like this. I respect it. I read it, and I try to shape my life accordingly. That's the only reason why I'm putting it out here. I'm not telling you to believe any or everything, but it should just provoke thought. It should make you want to think. Do your own research. Don't take nobody else's word for it. But like I said, this was hidden in a book for 50 cents. You know what I mean? For me, 50 cents. And I know that I believe the Creator, our Father in heaven, you don't want us to always be sick. I know the spirituality behind it. He wants us to return back to Him. So that's why we go through a lot of what we go through. But I mean, as we awaken and as we turn back to Him, we can educate our people. We can educate ourselves. We could listen. We could stop believing everything they say, because it's all about the money to them. They don't care about us. If all this is true, which I mean, you look out in the world, we could tell it's all about the money. You know what I'm saying? We could tell it's all about the money. And I'm not even talking about just the pharmaceutical companies. I'm talking period. So, I mean, wow. Let me finish this up.
Feel you need their drug. The ads produced by the pharmaceutical industry are the most sophisticated, well thought out, brainwashing, manipulative campaigns ever launched on the American public. This advertising is trying to brainwash us into thinking that our life will be better in every way as long as we continue to take more and more drugs. This is absolutely outrageous. Doesn't it drive you crazy when you see all these drug ads in newspapers, magazines, and television? The amount of drug advertising is at an all-time high and continues to increase. When you listen to these ads, doesn't it make you smile or laugh when they start rattling off all the side effects of the drugs? However, the marketing technique are so sophisticated that the drug ads are incredibly effective. The Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Trade Commission, and the pharmaceutical industry have an unholy alliance. The regulating government body should be governing and regulating and protecting consumers from the drug companies' insatiable desire to make more profits. The problem is that they work together to increase profits and power. A law passed in Congress with virtually no debate at all, which increased the FDA's dependence on large drug companies for its funding. You are reading this right. The FDA gets funding directly from the drug industry. It is a law that was passed in 1992 that was intended to speed up the approval for new AIDS medications. But what it actually did was get the drug companies to pay the FDA's new employees an additional funding requirements. According to an article in the Washington Post, the program was developed between the pharmaceutical industry and the FDA in secret meeting. It was not debated in Congress. There was no vote. It was a secret, private negotiation between the drug industry and the FDA and went directly to the General Accounting Office for review. According to the Washington Post, over 500 new employees to be sent to the FDA centers that actually review new proposed drugs will be paid for by the pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies themselves. There are over 1,500 people that work for the FDA who are paid by the funding of the drug industry. That means that over 55% of the FDA staff directly involved in the reviewing of the new drug application is in effect on the payroll of the drug industry. That's over $1.2 billion that the FDA is getting directly from the drug industry. Just to point out how crooked these people are, over the last 10 years, the FDA has approved over 9 specific drugs that have been proven to have deadly side effects. The Journal of American Medical Association estimates that over 125,000 Americans die each year from side effects from FDA-approved drugs. So how do the FDA, FTC, and the drug industry work together promoting drugs and surgery and suppressing natural cures? Criminologist Elaine Feuer did a thorough investigation on the FDA and found that the FDA invests the majority of its time protecting the profits of the pharmaceutical industry. The FDA suppresses the truth about the natural cures and focuses on shutting down companies that sell natural remedies for the common disease. Her book, Innocent Casualties, The FDA's War Against Humanity, documents how the FDA specifically goes after companies that offer natural cures for diseases that make the most money of the pharmaceutical industry.
All right, go fast. I had to look up this author. So this book exists, Innocent Casualties, The FDA's War Against Humanity. This is an Amazon site. I guess so you can order it, you know what I mean? But anyway, it says, Innocent Casualties, The FDA's War Against Humanity documents the FDA's illegal suppression of nutrients and alternative treatments that are successfully used to treat serious illness in other countries. In 2006, Americans are still denied their constitutional right of freedom of choice in healthcare. Wow. In order to protect the interests of the medical and pharmaceutical industry, the FDA has evolved into an undercover dictatorship. innocent casualties documents a government agency so radical that its agents burst into doctor's office, guns drawn, to seize the vitamin B. The U.S. medical monopoly could not exist without the enforcement of the powers of the FDA. Wow. So y'all see this? He on to something, man. He ain't gonna hold you. He on to something. 2 or 3 witnesses, right? And I mean, we can look out and see that the FDA, they have put some stuff out they shouldn't have even put out from the get-go. They allow some things come out that should not, like, for example, aspartame. It shouldn't be out there. Just imagine how broad the list is, how much things the FDA allows to go out there. He on to something, y'all. He's definitely on to something. I might buy this book. This book came out in 1998. I might buy this book. And this is Amazon. Wow.
Since cancer, AIDS, heart disease, and diabetes are so profitable for the drug companies, anyone promoting a natural cure for these illnesses will be attacked by the FDA. Drug companies also get us to use drugs through the use of the media. This is one of the scariest things I want to talk about. The drug industry, the FTC, and the FDA produces press releases, news, if you will, on the new super wonder drug. At the same time, they spread negative news on the natural alternatives. The industry spends enormous amounts of money with public relation firms to get new organizations on televisions, radio, newspaper, and magazines to do positive stories on their drugs. You'll notice when you're watching the news that many times there is a medical expert on who says something about a new drug. This medical expert never says it's his opinion. There is never an alternative viewpoint presented. The medical expert always gives the pro-drug side, and it's presented as a news story. The fact is, it is not news at all. The medical experts are in many cases spokespeople for the drug companies. These medical experts are being paid huge amounts of money to say all these wonderful things about the drugs. Where is the full disclosure? When a news organization brings out their medical experts, they never say, by the way, or our medical experts is being paid huge amounts of money to come on our show to say wonderful things about the drug. They are put on the news without any research whatsoever done by the news organization about whether the information itself being presented is factual, fair, balanced, or honest. Everyone seems to forget that a new wonder drug makes billions of dollars in profit, and everyone seems to forget that the drug companies are publicly traded companies, and people that own stock in these companies have a major incentive for the drug companies to sell more drugs. So the real question is, who owns the stock in these drug companies? Would it surprise you that many members of the FDA and the FTC own stock in drug companies? Would it surprise you that many members of Congress own stock in drug companies? Would it also surprise you that the members of the news media that are supposed to be impartially presenting news own stock in the drug companies? And the corporations that own television networks, radio networks, newspapers, and magazines all have financial ties to the pharmaceutical industry and all have incentives for the drug industry to sell more drugs. That is one of the reasons why you hear so much about drugs on the news and read so many positive articles about drugs in magazines and newspapers. These organizations are getting financial benefits from the drugs that are being sold. Additionally, most news organizations do not research the accuracy and the truthfulness of information when presenting news about drugs. When they get a press release from the pharmaceutical industry, it is read and presented as news without question. The pharmaceutical industry has an automatic outlet to get billions of dollars in free advertisement, which is being disguised as news. Doesn't it surprise you that the only medical experts on the news giving any information about health, illness, disease, or sickness are all medical doctors? And that the only information we are hearing is about the use of drugs? Doesn't it surprise you that you virtually never hear any positive news at all about herbal remedies and natural remedies or homeopathic remedies? Could it be that there is no profit in these remedies? Remember, natural remedies cannot be patented. As I mentioned previously, the unholy alliance between the FDA and the FTC and the drug industry created the outrageous and totally irresponsible regulations that only a drug can cure, prevent, and treat a disease. Remember that the FDA has the ability to enforce this law. Anyone making a claim that anything other than that drug can cure, prevent, or treat disease is breaking the law and is subject to criminal prosecution. The FDA has set a law that there is not and never will be a natural remedy that can cure or prevent or treat disease. Because if a natural remedy did, then it would be classified as a drug. And once it's classified as a drug, it has to go through a $800 million worth of testing that the FDA requires to be approved as a new drug. This cannot be done. Why? Because a natural remedy cannot be patented. And there is no company that will spend $800 million to get a natural remedy approved as a new drug, because it would not own the patent for that new drug and therefore can't make the money back plus tenfold profit. Natural remedies cannot be patented. Therefore, they cannot go through the testing that the FDA requires. This is why the FDA and drug companies love this system. It prevents any natural remedies from being touted as a cure or prevention of disease, when in fact, many of them are. The FDA has colluded the drug industry and given the drug industry a monopoly. Think about it. The FDA states that only a drug can cure and prevent a disease. Absolutely nothing else can. How insane is that? To make matters worse, what pharmaceutical industry and the FDA has done now is decided to classify more and more things as diseases. Once upon a time, you used to get heartburn. Now it's called acid reflux disease. Once upon a time, people used to be shy. Now it's classified as social anxiety disorder, which is a disease. Kids who are eating too much sugar or are a little rambunctious are now classified as having attention deficit disorder, which is a disease. If a woman has a low sexual desire, it's classified as a disease. An alcoholic is no longer an alcoholic. He now has a disease called alcoholism. A person who is overweight is no longer overweight. They now have a disease called obesity. A male who cannot get an erection is said to have a disease. The reason more and more things are being classified as disease is once it is classified as a disease legally, there can be no natural, inexpensive remedy that can cure or prevent it. The FDA says only a drug can do that. The FDA. You see how that works? If it's a disease, if it's classified as a disease, then only a drug can cure it. How foolishness is that? That is foolish. That's the laws. Like I was saying in the beginning, a lot of us don't be knowing the laws. But you go back to your grandmoms, when you was around your grandmoms, or you know what I mean, or how your great grandmoms, or how they got down, you know, something went wrong, they knew what to mix up in the kitchen to cure it. FDA passed a law where grandma could be thrown in jail if grandma makes money off of it, advertises it, and calls it a cure. Why? I mean, think about it. Let's say chicken noodle soup healed something. Let's just hypothetically say that, right? Let's say chicken noodle soup was good for the flu. It's not, but I'm just saying. I mean, it helps, but I'm just saying. And let's say grandma says, all right, you know what? I'm going to put my little package out like Will Mills, whatever it is. You know, little trucks that go to different people's house and deliver food, right? All right. So let's say grandma put that up there and grandma making money. You know they're going to throw grandma in jail? Yeah, they're going to throw grandma in jail. They're going to throw grandma in jail because grandma now is selling a drug. She claims something can cure a disease.
And it make me think too when he was saying, I never even thought about that before. Like, you think about like it's all these different diseases coming out. Things that was just called what they were. Like alcohol, like an alcoholic. Now he have alcoholism. It's now a disease. It's add ism on the end of it. It's a disease. Which means there's a pharmaceutical company that could put something out there, sell it to help him overcome his alcohol addiction. And once they call something a disease, no longer can you bring a natural remedy and bring claims that it could cure that illness or ailment. Yo, that's crazy. A lot of us don't pay attention to that little fine print. I don't. Like, it makes you want to now. Yo, the system is messed up, man. It's messed up. And meanwhile, here's my biggest problem. Meanwhile, we keep getting sicker and they keep getting richer. And how many drugs are out there now? Like when he was talking about the advertisements, if you watching regular TV, regular cable TV, how many drugs are you going to have advertised to you? It's crazy. And the side effects are crazy. I scratch my head at it. Like, somebody is selling a drug for depression. And one of the side effects is it could cause suicidal thoughts. That sounds like it's depression. So you mean I'm going to take a drug for depression? It's going to make me even more depressed? Before I wasn't thinking about suicide, but now that I take this drug, now I'm thinking about suicide. Like I want to end my life, I want to end it all. And then they say at the end, real nicely, ask your doctor about it. Yo, I'm telling you, man, this is crazy, man. It's the reason why I'm doing this. It's just because I'm just tired of ignorance. I've been ignorant long enough, and look at it like this: ain't nobody around me gonna be ignorant. We gonna learn something. So, yeah. Let's continue. Wow, we're coming up on 3 hours. Let me try to finish this. I'm gonna stop interrupting. All right, just so I can finish this. I hope y'all are enjoying it. Has the final word on what is a disease. Once the FDA has decided with the final authority that something is a disease, any company making a claim that an all-natural product could possibly cure or prevent that disease can be legally entered by the FDA unannounced, with the federal agents, guns drawn, and seize the natural product. The FDA can then shut that business down and put people who are in charge of that business in jail for practicing medicine without a license or selling drugs without a license. Even though they are not selling drugs at all, they could be selling something as bending as bread. This actually happened back in 1970 when a gentleman named Ben Soares sold bread that had a high fiber content. It was an all-natural bread that was high in fiber. He stated that eating a high fiber diet could potentially lower the risk of certain cancers. At that time, the statement was not proven, but because he made the statement, he was now, according to the FDA, selling a drug without a license. He wasn't selling a drug, he was selling bread. The FDA came in, seized the bread, and destroyed it. It was enough bread to feed 1 million homeless people. He offered to give the bread away to the homeless people. The FDA said no, and the bread was destroyed. How sick. And why was it destroyed? Because he was selling an all-natural product, and it was potentially tapping into the profits of one of the most powerful, profitable industries in the world. It's all about the money. Please read this incredible story about the hunger bread that was and is one of the greatest weight loss miracles of all times, and how the FDA tried to destroy this man's business and life to protect the profits of the drug industry. The entire story is printed here as Appendix B, website. The pharmaceutical industry is doing a brilliant job producing all kinds of informational websites which appear to be consumer-oriented, unbiased websites which give information to consumers about various illnesses
diseases, and cures. But the fact is, these are not unbiased websites. It's a trick. It's a scam. These websites are paid for and put out by the drug industry. They are made to look and appear as if they're unbiased and are there to give information to the consumer and to protect the consumer. The fact of the matter is, they are nothing more than websites owned directly by the pharmaceutical companies who sell you more drugs. It is important to know that the pharmaceutical industry is committed to wiping out non-patentable, all-natural cures for disease. The pharmaceutical industry is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to get you to believe that drugs are safe and effective, and all natural cures are all ineffective and dangerous. The exact opposite is true. Drugs are all dangerous and causes diseases, and all the current research show that drugs are generally ineffective. Drugs do not cure any disease. This fact is becoming more and more clear. Drugs, in fact, causes disease. All natural remedies are in fact extremely safe, with virtually no side effects, and all the natural remedies are incredibly effective. Technically speaking, all natural remedies do not cure disease because only the body can cure itself. All natural remedies help the body cure itself. With this said, I want to emphasize that virtually every consumer advocacy website relating to health and every watchdog group or website relating to health and every consumer information website relating to health is in fact a front for the pharmaceutical industry. These websites are not designed to protect consumers or inform consumers about all options, but rather these websites are funded and or owned by the pharmaceutical companies and have one simple mission: to spread the lie that drugs are the only answer to curing, preventing, and treating diseases. And the natural remedies such as herbs, homeopathics, vitamins, minerals, and etc. are ineffective and unsafe. This is a great lie and a great deception. The internet is becoming one of the most powerful tools that the pharmaceutical industry uses to promulgate this great deception, paying off celebrities. This shocked me when I found this out. When you watch TV talk shows or listen to talk radio, many times a celebrity is being interviewed. That celebrity may have had some kind of disease, or a family member of that celebrity may have had some kind of disease. The celebrity is on the talk show talking about a particular disease that he or a family member or friends have suffered from. And they may talk about a new treatment that they've tried or a new drug that they've tried that cured them of the problem and saved their lives, and how wonderful it is. It sounds oh so interesting and oh so wonderful. It appears that the celebrity is genuinely concerned about the health and the welfare of others because they went through it in their personal life. But upon further investigation, we find out that these celebrities, most of whom are professional actors, are doing a brilliant job of acting because they are being paid huge amounts of money by the drug industry to tote the drug company's drug under the disguise of a normal interview. These real talk shows are becoming infomercials for the drug industry. But you and I watch them and don't know that they are, in fact, commercials. This celebrity, under the banner of full disclosure, never says that he is being paid huge amounts of money by the drug industry to tote the drug in public. Does this surprise you? It shouldn't, because it is common in every industry. A golf club manufacturer says more tour professionals use our drivers than any other brand. When interviewed, the tour professional says how much he loves their drivers. What you are not told is that these golfers are paid millions of dollars to use the company's particular driver. So do we really know if the golfers are using this driver because it's the best driver, or that they are using the driver because they are being paid to? Remember, it's always about the money. Government mandates a drug use. Another technique that the drug industry uses to make sure sales of drugs continue to increase is to get the federal government to pass laws requiring people to take drugs. These are three methods employed. First, pass a law requiring that children must take a certain drug, such as a vaccine. Second, passed a law requiring all federal employees and military personnel to take that certain drug. Third, get the government to pay for drug use for the poor and the elderly through Social Security and Medicaid. When this happens, bam, billions of dollars in profits. Remember the anthrax scare in Washington? I believe it was a brilliant campaign to increase the sales of certain antibiotics, Kipro. When the anthrax scare went on the air, the drug companies did a brilliant marketing campaign talking about how Kipro is the drug of choice for anthrax. Overnight, sales for Kipro skyrocketed. Millions of dollars in profits were generated by the drug companies. This is a virtually important point. Again, what are we talking about here is how the drug companies strategically and methodically increase the sales of their drugs. Keep in mind that the drugs do not cure disease. The drugs being sold, both prescription and non-prescription, actually causes most diseases that people are experiencing. All non-prescription and prescription drugs have horrible side effects. All non-prescription and prescription drugs causes diseases. There is not one prescription or non-prescription drug that cures any disease. This is a proven fact, even acknowledged by the pharmaceutical industry itself. All drugs, whether they are non-prescription or prescription drugs, simply suppress symptoms and, most important, unbeknownst to you, cause you to become sick with other diseases. Again, drug companies have only one goal, and that is to sell more drugs. What am I talking about here are all the various ways that the drug companies employ to increase their profits and sell more drugs. Working with the government is a very important aspect. The pharmaceutical industry has figured out ways to get the government behind them. Pharmaceutical industry uses FDA and FTC to protect their profits and protect their monopolies. The FDA and the FTC are supposed to be protecting consumers from unscrupulous companies such as the pharmaceutical industry. But the pharmaceutical companies have figured out ways to put millions of dollars into the politicians' pockets, thus ensuring that the drug companies' profits are protected. When the pharmaceutical companies get politicians to require drug use or have the government buy drugs by the pharmaceutical companies as exorbitant inflate prices, pharmaceutical companies make billions of dollars in profits and their stock prices soar. What is the incentive for a politician to do this? Well, I'm blowing the whistle on the greatest scandal in the history of American government. The members of Congress have passed a law which allows them to buy and sell stocks, in effect, insider information. Listen to this very carefully. I am exposing one of the greatest issues of corruption in American history. I am blowing the whistle on something that virtually no one knows about. The members of Congress have information that you and I do not have. The members of Congress have access to information that the public does not have access to. In any other venue, this would be called insider information. However, Congress has passed a law allowing themselves to buy and sell stock based on this insider information. And these stocks transactions have been made perfectly legal. You need to know that politicians in Washington are making millions and millions and millions of dollars in profits buying and selling stocks based on insider information. One of the congresswomen from California in her first 4 years in Congress made over $10 million buying and selling stock on information that the public did not have access to. This should be criminal. Think about how this works on the advantage of the pharmaceutical companies. Congress is about to vote on buying billions of dollars of drugs and shipping them overseas in the form of aid. It is about to give the pharmaceutical company hundreds of millions of dollars in profits. No one in the country knows this information. The congressmen, however, do have access to this insider information. They know that once this vote is passed, certain pharmaceutical companies' stock prices will skyrocket.
Okay, I'm going to stop interrupting so much, but I got to touch this right. So if Congress passes a law to allow a drug company to release its drug and to ship a drug, they know what's going to happen, right? The money that that drug makes, you know anything about stocks, it's based off the money something is making. the money that drug is going to make, they can invest in that stock and they can make a good profit. That technically will be insider information because we don't all know what laws are about to be passed. So we don't know. They know. And yeah, it's crazy. You see how much everybody is invested into the pharmaceutical company. It's going to make your hair hurt. Me personally, I get a headache. I mean, it's got to be a really, really bad headache for me to take some. Sometimes I have no choice. But at least I'm conscious enough to be like, you know what? Maybe I can get through this without even messing with prescription, non-prescription drug. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, keep that in mind.
They then buy the stock knowing that the information about the windfall profit will be made public very soon. The congressmen have information that you and I do not have access to. They are given the right to make a profit when you and I are denied that right. This should be criminal. In any other venue, people will go to jail, but in Congress, it is standard operating procedure. It is one of the perks of being a congressman or a senator in Washington. Can you see why the politicians have such a big financial tie to the pharmaceutical industry? Can you see why the government wants to suppress natural remedies and protect the profits of the drug companies? This scandal was briefly reported on Fox News. However, it was immediately squashed and no one in the news media has picked up on it. This is appalling. This is one of the biggest scandals and the expose of corruption at the highest level in the government. In effect, the congressmen have voted that they have the right to buy and sell on insider information, even though such activities are illegal for any other person. Can you see how the pharmaceutical companies and the money brokers in Washington are working together? Remember, it's always about the money. This happens with the FDA as well. The FDA approves drugs. A company's profitability hinges on whether the FDA approves drugs or not. Pharmaceutical companies use the political connections, funnel millions of dollars into lobbyists, and actually put people on the FDA drug approval boards that are on their own payroll, all in an attempt to get drugs approved by the FDA so that they can increase their profits and stock prices. This happens even though the pharmaceutical companies know that the drugs that they are trying to get approved on do not work and actually causes disease. But they don't care. It's always about the money. Members of Congress talk to the FDA and now, in advance, whether a drug is going to be approved or not. If the drug is going to be approved, members in Congress simply buy the stock based on this insider information and make millions of dollars in profit. The drug industry is a money-making machine for the politicians in Washington. This is why the FDA and the FTC and the big governments want to suppress information about the natural remedies. It simply will cost them money. Remember, it's always all about the money. You can see why I'm mad, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
All right, family, we're going to end it there. I'll pick back up next time. It takes a while to put this stuff together. But listen, I hope you learned something. I hope you have an understanding. Remember, this is this man's opinion, but you gotta admit, he is really got you thinking about some stuff, especially if you follow through and listen through this all the way through. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I pray this was a blessing to you. Y'all willing, I will continue to put out information in books. I'm gonna finish this book out, and I got another book lined up, and I got another book lined up after that, and maybe this could become a trend. I know everybody's not gonna pick a book up to read, but you got the kind of job I got where you behind the wheel in the truck and you just want to just play something. This might be good information to just play along with other good information. But I'm going to end it here, family. It's long enough. We're at over 3 hours. Wow. But we're going to end it here. Like I said, I pray it was a blessing, and tune in for more. Please subscribe Please like. That'll get it into algorithms where other people can hear it. Even though I have a suspicion they're gonna try to take this off the internet. If they do, they do. But if you got a chance to hear it, I hope it was a blessing for you. Till next time, peace and blessings.